broadcast. It says that. Okay, I'm holding still. Look,
It's
I'm a
nice.
ventriloquist.
Like Ox and I are so low energy that we don't look much more moving than Barnacules.
Man,
Who is a still image at this point.
I'm back. I'm back and better than ever. Woo! Energy.
Are you drinking water, Ox? Are you getting your water? So I should do that. I just drink coffee. I feel like shit, and I'm all shaky. I should drink more coffee.
I know, dude.
Oh God, I swore in the first 30 seconds. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Fuck YouTube and their
it's only it's the first 7 seconds or something, isn't it? We can
I think they lowered it to 7 seconds now. So
yeah, because that'll stop. That stops the hate.
Like,
Go ahead. If you're not hating in the first 7 seconds, you're not gonna hate at all.
Where did they come up with that rule though? Like 7 seconds. Like who's gonna make a video and just be like, shit, piss, fuck, and oh damn, I'm demonetized. Like in the first 7 seconds.
Right.
Like why is 7 seconds relevant? I'm curious. Like I wonder if that's like the time like they studied it and they were like that is the precise amount of time that you'll spend on a video before you'll abandon it if it's not interesting.
I'm guessing
probably it's that initial hook.
Yeah, like
it's
the
also
whole TikTok
advertising
syndrome, right? It's like TikTok. You have to like in the first 3 frames of the video be like, "Here's a penis," and then you're like, "What?" And then they hook you, and then you can watch the next 15 seconds. If it's boring for like the first 5-7 seconds, you're out. You're like,
I think Jerry has a different feed than I do. I stopped TikTok. I was like, you know what? I don't think I need another social. I'm literally thinking about dropping social media. Like
dude.
I'm like,
I would be so jealous.
Are you there?
So jealous. Yeah, I'm still here. Hello?
No. I mean, like you, the social media wise.
Yeah. No, I'd love to just push the button and go bye.
Like there's nothing I need to be promoting right now. So I feel like there's been a couple times where I'm like, I hit like a wall once, and then I was just about to do a convention. I was like, I can't do that to the poor convention people who like they spend money, they get you out there to talk and stuff. Then you're like, I'm off social media. I'm not telling anybody about your project.
That would actually be pretty funny. Right after you sign the contract, they just forget to put a clause in there because you're always active on social media. They're like, oh, we don't have to put anything in there specific. And then like the second you sign the contract, you're like, today I'm announcing that I'm leaving social media and I'm not going to be acting in anything more for 6 months.
It's so weird.
Everybody's saying that my and David's audio is terrible.
Your guys' audio is terrible?
Well, we should
Richard Gagnon says Ox and David audio is terrible. And then the networking guy says, hey, yo, David has echo. Sounds kind of cool. Echo, reverb, David.
Here, I can probably fix that. Hold on.
We will break Jerry today.
Why do I not have an echo for David, but it's having the same effect you were having before I muted you? Okay,
we're gonna break Jerry's attack. You watch.
I can fix it. Just calm your head.
He's happy now, but just give it like 5 minutes.
I'm more worried about David's beaming sunlight coming off. Poor guy's gonna get sunburn. Whole left side of your face is just gonna be redded out, man.
Isn't it? It's not that bright. It's fucking gray here.
Audio's fixed.
Weird.
By the way.
It seems like you got the bald face of God smiling at you.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
it's like,
it's possible. Maybe that's just the way I like it. It just removes all of my blemishes. I'm trying to figure out how to reduce the exposure on this thing. I don't know why. Wait a second. If I try this,
is it like a webcam or what kind of camera?
Which webcam is it?
I love this.
It's this one. Okay. Yeah, it's like a nice little Keo, but for some reason it's just got really bright. All of a sudden, and I don't see a control for it in Ninja.
That program thing we use.
Do you see any Ninja? Is there a way to? Do you see a way to change your audio?
Okay, the audio should be fixed now. So what it was is I have to, for some reason beyond my comprehension, I have to import your audio into OBS just to mute it. That's it. Like I have to. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to actually click a button that says I want to control your audio in OBS Studio. And then it echoes, and then I just mute you. So you'd think that the default would be you just be muted if I don't import your audio. But I don't have to import it and mute it. So it's very weird. Very weird. All right, we're good now. All right, I'm gonna send out the stream. Ship it. Ship it.
Oh right. Speaking of social media, I guess I should do that.
Gotta tell people what's going on.
Am I on? Streamed in a minute? Chat now? What's going on? Why can't I not chat?
How do I get the link for this damn thing these days? Create highlight video. No, add stream marker. Nope. I don't want to insert an ad. Nope.
The monkey with the spanner got fired. I like that. That was an alternative visuals joke. Hello, all. I'll just make sure
I did not get the reference.
No, okay. I think it's just a general monkey with it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so there we go. Okay, we're live. Copy link. Give me the link. Come on, give me the link. There we go. Get shareable link. That's what I was looking for. All right, here we go. We're doing it.
Yeah.
TikTok. This is the pre-show, guys.
You doing a TikTok?
No. I'm Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Oh, TikTok. Oh, I thought you were doing, I was like, well, you're promoting it on TikTok as well. I was like, God, I'm impressed. He's like,
So I did get a service to multicast. Like I was using Cloudflare's multicast feature that I was paying like $5 a month for. It actually worked really well, but then like Twitch ruled on it and came back and said, nope, you can't stream on YouTube or Facebook or anything while you're streaming on Twitch. And I'm like, well, that was a waste.
I just want a freaking open source streaming and video service. I just want one that is not controlled by freaking but I mean like that it could be. I want people to find it on there. I want people to be able to stream it on there. I don't want it to have advertising unless I put advertising on it. I would pay for that service.
You can totally set up your own RTMP server and broadcast to your own website.
The problem is discoverability, though, right?
Yeah, that's the
problem anywhere. Really, it's Twitch's discoverability is terrible. You have to put your content elsewhere to get found.
My son keeps saying, "Dad, why do you stream on?" I was like, because that's where the one kid that listens to me is.
It is so hard to get people to follow you to another platform. It is very difficult because people have platform loyalty like crazy. So whatever platform you got their viewership on, that's the platform where you're going to retain their viewership. If you go anywhere else, they'll just be like, there's somebody else on this platform I can watch.
But this applies to television as well. Like people want to see me on Stargate. They don't want to see me in sci-fi. They want to see me in Stargate. Like it's like, I think people pigeonhole very, very quickly.
Like, do the Rodney thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's kind of that. I mean, which I don't care. It's fine with me. But
your version of Bat Knife is like, or your version of Citrus is my Bat Knife. Like where everybody walks up, do the Bat Knife. No,
Bat Knife.
Like from the old videos. Yeah. I used to do. I haven't done Bat Knife in like 3 years, but people are.
I just get given like boxes of fucking citrus. Yeah.
That'd be so sad if you were actually allergic to it and you go to every convention and people are like, hey, do the lemon thing, do the lemon thing.
That is something that I find funny though, is that people always like bring lemons and go, are you really allergic to lemons? I'm like, you brought a fucking lemon to find out whether I'm allergic to lemons.
Yeah, right.
Like, dude, like, are you allergic to peanut butter? And they're like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, smearing their fingers on you. It's like,
thank you for your love and caring. I love it.
Dude, allergies are freaking scary though, man. When I was at Microsoft in Building 37, they had to put a sign on every single door because one person in the building had a latex allergy. And it was apparently like such a severe allergy that like even minimal exposure would cause them to go into anaphylaxis like instantly. So every single door on the building had a sign on it that said, please no latex balloons. Mylar is okay due to allergy or whatever in this building across all the floors. Like you couldn't take them anywhere. And I was like, man, can allergy really be like that bad? Yeah, apparently it can.
Sure.
Wow.
You know, just
the nuts
minimal
thing.
Exposure.
You know what you know what nuts are like at school for the first, the junior school, forget it. Like I thought I could do parenting, peanut butter and jam sandwiches every freaking day. I love them. My son will love them. Nope. Can't say nope. So we were trying these like soy butter and I was like, it's just not the same.
So physics in chat said I'll start bringing an EpiPen when I go to cons with David.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The funny thing is I'm actually allergic to pineapple.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No way.
Not terribly. It's like
a sensitivity.
When I moved out of the house. Well, my father kicked me out and I got my first apartment. And
I moved out of the house. I got kicked out by my father.
I got
little difference.
Out, yeah.
Just a tiny smidgen.
Thank God he did, because I'd probably still be in the basement, like going like, man, I lost all my money on crypto. But so I had this apartment and I was like all excited because I got like my father wanted to teach me a lesson. It was like, look, if you're gonna quit school, then you're a grown up and grown-ups don't live at home. And it was like, I was like, ooh, and we were mad. We had a big fight. And so he kicked me out. I got a freaking acting job, like in a movie, like a week later. So you could just see him going like, shit, this lesson did not work at all. I like landed on my feet like right away. It's like the horseshoes were firmly implanted up my butt. And, but the first night that I spent alone in my apartment, I was like, I've always loved pineapple and we used to eat it at home, but whenever I ate it, my lips would blow off. I get these like, I used to call it Mick Jagger. I used to get the Mick Jagger.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, I'm not going out. No one's around. There's a fresh market just down. I'll get myself a pineapple and I prepare the pineapple. I eat the pineapple and it starts on my lips. I'm like, no big deal. No one's around. And then I was like, and then it went down my throat and then it got to my throat. And all of a sudden I'm like, so I'm by myself in this house. So what do? Call your dad. My dad's a doctor, right? So I call my dad and he goes, Dybok. That's what he calls me. Dybok, go to the window. And I go to the window and I'm like, why go to the window? I'm thinking like, I'm not sure I could open the window. What's the deal? He goes, now look down. I looked down. He goes, that's a hospital. There's a hospital across the street, an emergency ward. He just said go to the emergency ward, so I went to the emergency ward. But
yeah, you don't mess around with allergies. I learned that the hard way when I almost died.
But that's the first and only time it's ever happened. Like I've never, like ever since, I have an EpiPen with me. Never had a problem.
That's one thing. As soon as you have a severe allergic reaction, like where it causes like severe hives or like puffy lips or throat, every allergic reaction you have after that will take less to induce and be more severe.
That's so funny because I don't have it with regular pineapple. I only have it with fresh cut pineapple. I
wonder if there's an enzyme that breaks down over time or something. It must be something that's
or a preservative they put in the. Maybe there's a preservative they.
It might be the bromine, bromine or whatever it is, because the pineapple eats you back, right? Like it has I think it's the bromine that breaks down. It breaks down the protein.
It's like a super oxidizer or something too.
Yeah, that's what you eat. A lot of pineapple, and you get like the raw cut up roof of your mouth and stuff like that, because it's eating you back in a sense. And the bromine, I think it's the bromine. It's a chemical that like instantly starts breaking down the proteins that it touches.
Dude, that's wild.
That is neat. So I mean, I'm just allergic to like
a canned sliced pineapple or whatever might have been washed and whatever and sitting in sugar water
like
and whatnot.
And on a pizza is fine though. Like you won't.
Oh god, yeah, totally fine, totally fine. It's only fresh pineapple.
Something about the processing, then probably bromelain. Bromelain. I might have the chemical. I'm saying it wrong, but
I like how we're sitting here asking this. We're all sitting here asking this when we all literally like pay for ChatGPT. We could just be like, why?
Yeah.
Why
what do you mean pineapple eats the host?
Have allergic reactions?
Well, because it'll just make some shit up. It could just say like, because it's an alien. What?
No. Ask for if you ask it to provide sources, it's a lot more.
Yeah, that's what I do now. I do that all the time now. I say give me resources. Give me the sources of everything you got.
Oh, is it a little wiener dog?
Not even a dog. That's like a hamster with attitude.
Demonetized.
Oh yeah, my bad.
What? Because the bits?
We did dog porn on your
bits
channel. Sorry about that.
Got the doggy ween on there. Darn, you guys can't hear. I don't think you guys can hear system sounds. You can only hear my microphone. I think on here. Tell me if you guys can hear this. Hold on. It's gonna start reading. Let's see if it works yet. Nope. It's not reading. Never mind. For some reason, it thought I wanted to read a PDF when I just wanted to read some text. Here.
Some people have allergic reactions to fresh pineapple.
Okay, you guys can hear that?
Shellfish.
No.
Okay, so here's what it says on ChatGPT. It says, some people have an allergic reaction to fresh pineapple, but not canned pineapple, due to the difference in enzyme content between the two forms.
Enzymes, there you go.
Fresh, man, look at that, man. Fresh pineapple contains an enzyme called bromelain. Look at you,
bromelain,
which can cause allergic reactions or sensitivity in some individuals. Bromelain is a mixture of, let's see here, petrolytic enzymes. Ooh, there's my word for the day. That can break down proteins and cause irritation, inflammation, and even an immune response in some rare cases. When pineapple is canned, it undergoes a heating process that destroys most of this bromelain. As a result,
breaks down the enzyme. Wow, okay, that's cool.
As a result, people with sensitivity to bromelain may experience the same allergic reaction when consuming a canned pineapple compared to fresh pineapple. It is important to note that some individuals may still have an allergic reaction to canned pineapple due to other components, such as a fruit allergy or sensitivity to the additives used in the canning process.
I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. So you're a dude, you are bromelain sensitive.
Yeah.
You need to get a little wristband and everything, man.
Oh my God. Could you imagine that? Like, it's just like, I mean, but again, like a pineapple itself, like, it's not like if it's in the room or something, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Just when it gets,
Yep.
Yeah. And to be fair, I consumed an entire fucking pineapple by myself.
Yeah. No, my allergy is the same.
Pineapple.
On my black leather couches.
So my allergy is NSAIDs. Anything that's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory.
Like aspirin or something.
It's everything.
That sucks.
Aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen. The only thing I take is Tylenol. Because Tylenol is the only one that's not in that class. So, and I'm allergic to the actual process.
That's Tylenol is acetaminophen, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I can't take any non-steroid anti-inflammatory, which means anytime I have an inflammation problem, I have to take prednisone, which is like the worst freaking steroid-based anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, man. That ends up making you all puffy and stuff. That sucks.
Makes them mad and shake and makes you, I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The only time I would pick it over the actual like disease it cures is freaking pneumonia. When I have pneumonia and I can't breathe, it does a really good job of bringing that back. But other than that, no, it's terrible. It makes you feel like shit. So I hate taking it. But my allergy is like really, really severe. Like within 10 minutes of ingesting, and to be fair, it does have to be like like a dose, like a minimum dose of it. Like I can't, if I just like licked a tiny bit of it, it would cause a slight reaction, but not really bad. But if I have like a whole tablet, done, man. 10 minutes later, my throat seals up and I'm EpiPen City heading for the hospital. So,
It's crazy.
so I keep an EpiPen everywhere. I have an EpiPen in my car. I have an EpiPen on my nightstand. I have an EpiPen in the
I've got expired
refrigerator.
ones everywhere.
They're all expired.
EpiPens.
They're all
Yeah,
expired.
yeah.
Every single one of them, because they're like, what is it? Like for 2 of them, it's like $450 or something. I'm like, nah, I'll just keep the ones. It says right on it too. It's like if fluid is discolored, discard. And you look at it and it's like dark gold. It was like white when I first got it.
Well,
But
they say it doesn't stop working. It's just not as effective.
It's just not as effective. Yeah. And I talked to the doctor about that, and he said, yeah, he's like with most Medicaid, not all. Don't get it confused with all, but with most medicines, after a year, it's just they just break down in their efficacy. They don't really.
Yeah, the military did a huge study about that. I think I've mentioned this on the stream before. The military did like a 10-year study about the degradation of medications and stuff over a certain amount of time.
Yep.
You actually have about 5 to 10 years on most prescription drugs, or really any drugs.
For some, but for most.
Yeah, my father doesn't throw anything out. My father is
man, they're still well enough.
Like,
for years and years and years. But like you said, like the efficacy will drop, but it's like the first few years, it's like no difference whatsoever. It and then it plummets after like 5, I think is what it was. And it's like, cool. So I'll just keep my Vicodins from when I get my wisdom teeth out.
I will
keep
tell
all
you
my
this though. So you mentioned Vicodin. Vicodin is the one that doesn't quite make it the 5 years without losing about 3/4 of its efficacy.
Oh, really?
And the reason I know this is because a friend of mine had some that he had left over from a dentist surgery. And like after 5 or 6 years, he took it and he didn't feel anything. And then he took more and he took more. And the onset took like 3 hours. And then he went way over and just
like
out.
That scene in Wolf of Wall Street with the Quaaludes. He's like,
exactly.
25-year-old
Yep.
painkillers, and then it's like, man, this fucking sucks. And then 20 minutes later, wow.
Yeah, where his memory is like he was like driving all nice down the road, and then the reality is the car's just totaled. I love that. That's the greatest scene ever. Hey,
I've yet to see that movie. I've still got to see that movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, it's a good movie. It's legit a good movie. I mean, it starts off a little strong. I remember seeing it in the theater with my lady, and I was like, first 5 seconds is basically like snorting coke off of like a hooker's butt. But I was like,
right.
This is setting the tone for the movie, but it's actually really, really good.
Yeah, no, I've heard people like reference it all the time, and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't watch it. I guess I was one of those ones I missed, and it was long, so I was always like, I don't know, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's one of those movies. I think it's based on a true story, is it not?
Yeah, Jordan Belfort. He got in big trouble for it was like high pressure sales with stocks and stuff and whatnot. No, you're not supposed to like you're not supposed to lie. Well, at first they didn't have the rules. And then like as he started getting bigger and bigger, like I think part of it was like he was misrepresenting and lying about, like the whole company was just like lying, and high pressure sales for stocks and whatnot, I think was part of the issue.
Yeah, he was doing the Bernie Madoff thing where it's like he was taking people's money and investing it, like guaranteeing returns.
Yeah, that's what it was. Stuff like that.
You cannot guarantee anybody that you're going to
But he was specifically picking stocks he knew had a high probability of losing. So he'd like put their money in, and then he'd be like, "Oh, sorry, you lost it all. Like something changed," but he never invested it. So he just keep
good flick. And actually had to like, I think he ran off to like New Zealand for a little while.
Everyone goes to New Zealand. It's a good place, I guess. But I'm surprised. For some reason, wasn't that where like Kim.com was and stuff as well?
Kim.com, where was
that? Sounds familiar.
He was in New Zealand.
Yeah, it might have been. No, it wasn't New Zealand. It was not Switzerland.
It was. He had a house in. That's where they arrested him. They arrested him in New Zealand. I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember that the whole reason that he thought he was safe there is because the U.S. had no extradition. But then there was like some bullshit that we did where we worked with their government, and they basically let us go in and like pull him out, which is like a big no-no apparently. And he fought that, and I think he won, didn't he? Didn't he legally win that battle?
I have no idea.
They weren't allowed to go and extract him because his country technically he didn't break a law.
I can't remember. He did a bunch of. He was pretty smart about that stuff. I got to say, I mean, I thought he was kind of an interesting guy. I mean, but I'm not sure. Again, I guess he is just a
weird dude. He is one of those guys where it's like, some of the stuff about him is interesting, but he's also like massive conspiracy theorist.
It's Elon Musk. It's the same thing. It's that weird line between like salesman and crook. You know what I mean? Like, was it salesman, crook, and liars, or whatever it is? Cheats and liars. I feel like there's like he's of that realm where you just some things go too far, some things don't. But I hate to say it, but I think you almost
from what I've seen with capitalism and how it works, you almost need a little bit of that to become rich, because if you don't, you just get steamrolled by everybody else who's willing to do the thing that you're not willing to do.
Well, that's it though. But then does that escalate? Does that escalate the more?
It does. Yeah,
I mean,
it absolutely does. And what ends up happening is everybody will take it all the way to the top, and then like you'll have the people like FTX and stuff like that where they'll just go a little further, right? They'll take it into the legal a little bit, hoping that nobody else will follow them, and just hope they dodge the bullet long enough.
Well, Theranos, right? It was the same issue, right? There was over promise. I mean, Apple and Microsoft were built on that overpromise.
They all did it. Everybody does it. The only thing that defines who goes to jail and who does it is, did your bluff work? Did you actually, in the end, make the money? Then if you did, you're free and clear. Like if Bernie Madoff suddenly like hit it big on Tesla stock and he could pay back all his investors, he would have been forgiven for everything. Like it would have been like, oh, you didn't have the money. Oh, but everybody got paid. Nobody got screwed, and everybody's happy about money. You know, it's only the only thing that separates Elon Musk and Elizabeth Holmes. The only thing, Theranos and Tesla, is that he succeeded in the end, where he was able to recoup a huge amount of money, just barely. I mean, by the skin of his teeth. Right?
Although
he wasn't also in medical
kind
stuff.
of falling apart though, too. Like it's bonkers. Him delaying. I mean, what they had to pull back all of their semis. The Tesla semis not doing good.
Yeah, and the cars, 300 some thousand cars they had to pull back for autopilot.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Bad.
That's crazy.
Well, and also he's just got into trouble with the FDA because of his Neuralink stuff.
Yeah,
Neuralink. They're talking about cruelty to animals and stuff.
Yeah, I heard about that. Like 15 monkeys or something died during the medical trials,
and he's trying to get permission to start human trials. That's crazy.
Yeah, but remember, he claimed like, oh, none of the monkeys are hurt. They're like super.
They're all happy playing Pong.
And at the time he said that, they were already dead. Like 13 of them were dead at the time he said that. And he's like, oh, no, they're fine and they're happy. And the funny thing is, like, he says shit that's completely unbelievable. Like, you can't believe it. Like, he's like, oh, the monkeys,
they're called lies.
They opt in. They opt in to have their brains modified. And we only study on them if they come to us and they want it.
The monkeys? The monkeys are like, hey, man, like,
yeah, he's like, we give them a reward, and if they don't want the reward or whatever,
I will trade my brain for a banana shake.
Exactly.
You know?
No, but is that a choice when you're starving because they haven't fed you for like 3 days, and you're like, okay, banana, but we get to tinker with your brain? It's like pretty soon you're gonna be okay. I'll take the banana. Like I'd rather that than die of starvation.
There's no way the monkeys or any of them have the cognitive ability to like attach those sorts of consequences to
right.
Yeah. And then someone like Elon Musk is going to go like, no, if the monkey doesn't want to play, the monkey just takes the day off. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like,
it's fine. It's like we just don't give it any food. And
he's asking his workers to sleep under desks, and you're expecting me to believe that he's like being patient with the freaking monkeys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What's that? He comes into Twitter on day one and fires like half of the employees there. This is not a guy who's empathetic towards anybody, let alone monkeys.
Yeah, so, I find that hard to believe for sure.
I wonder what's gonna. I mean, in the long run, what's gonna happen with it? Because he's supposed to be on paper. He's supposed to be one of the richest men in the world, right? I think he fell down. He's not number one anymore.
It's bounced back and forth.
Oh, has it? Okay, because I know at one time he was like so far ahead at like 300 billion or something like that.
I assume he's desperate for money when the Dogecoin thing popped up on my freaking Twitter feed.
I said the same exact thing. I was like, dude, for him to do that and right in front of the SEC, like he must really need money. And sure enough, if you go look at because I dumped all my
Did it bump? Did it bump at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, literally within 15 minutes of him changing that graphic on Twitter, it went from 8 cents up to 12 cents. So it went up like 50-some percent, 58%.
So God knows how much money that just made him.
Yeah, and then as soon as it went up to 58%, what he did is he matched the market and he was just dumping. Like if you looked on the exchange, as fast as people were buying in because they could see that he changed the graphic, he was basically dumping lots and balancing it on a pin's head until it dropped down to about 10. So what he does is he waits for people to buy in and then he dumps. And that way it never goes above 10. But because it's at 10, people are still buying it thinking, oh, it's going to go to the moon. It's going to go to the moon because he's signaling to them, right? He's conditioned them to do this. And he's just going to dump on all of them and they're all going to lose their money. Every last one's going to lose it all. Like, so I'm glad I sold all the Doge because I was like, I think I had 13,000 or something like that Dogecoin. And I was like, I offloaded that stuff because I'm like, dude, the second that he changes that graphic back, it's just. But I mean, it's clear. Like if you look, it's a sharp trend. Like it goes floating around. I think it's 7.5 to 8 cents is where it's been for like the last year plus. And as soon like within 15 minutes of him making that tweet, boom, up to 12, and then it like steadies down to 10 and it just holds there. But I was like, that's still a huge return for a lot of people. And the problem is Doge is endless, right? There's more Dogecoin being made every second, every day, and there's no limit and it never slows down.
Oh, really?
So,
I don't know
yep,
about it.
yep. So, but the reason they did that.
The only Doge I have is the Doge you gave me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
dude, go sell that and get your 35 cents. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
I don't even know how much I've got because I've had it for I mean, well, I'm sure.
I think I was giving it out I think I was giving it out a couple hundred at a time. So
I got some from somewhere else as well. I don't know, someone else, or there was some kind of a Doge thing. I don't know. Yeah.
See, I mean, Doge was supposed to outpace inflation. That was the whole purpose of creating Dogecoin. It's just like the dollar, outpaces inflation. Like things go up in value, we just value it less. Like same thing's supposed to happen with Doge because you keep creating more of it. It doesn't go up like Bitcoin where it's like $90,000 for one coin. Doge just always stays at $1, but there's just more of it.
Right.
So, it's a failed experiment. The only reason Doge went anywhere because every other coin that followed its exact same principle failed. So the only reason that one's alive is because Elon has been gaming it. Like,
oh god, that's
he bought the chief stakehold in it. Like back when it was like,
well, it was the original meme coin, right? I mean, that was the was sort of in the same way that Bitcoin was the original crypto. That was like
Yeah, a friend of mine traced his accounts. A friend of mine who's really big into crypto, he wrote a script that basically can look at any wallet, crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and what it can do is it can see where the coin comes in and into the blockchain and then trace it through every single transaction in every wallet that it touches.
I started looking at that with the Trump ones. For the Trump ones, I went to the blockchain and started looking through the blockchain to see because I was curious to know who is buying them, right? I mean,
it's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. All you have to do is figure out one wallet. So what happened was Elon posted his Doge wallet, one of his Doge wallets, on Twitter. I think it was about 2 years ago. He posted in a post. He's like, this is how many Dogecoin I have or something before he went on his spending spree and he was bragging about it. Well, he gave out that wallet address. So my friend put it into his script and he found 10,000 wallets that have transacted back and forth from that account, meaning not just money going to it, but also coming back. And so 10,000 accounts he was able to find running his little script. That all these accounts are doing is he has the one identified Elon one, and then he has the 10,000 other accounts, and all they're doing is just pinging money back and forth. They're selling coin to each other back and forth.
Well, that's basically how the crypto bros were working it, wasn't it? Exactly. I mean, all of these are the same thing where they'd have like these get in now while you can, and as soon as they get the numbers up,
it's a false pump. Yep.
Wasn't there something kind of shady about Beeple's big auction too? Like the whatever was 60 million.
His management wasn't it like his management company bought it or something? Like
I think that's kind of what it boiled down to. Was like he basically bought it from himself.
Yeah. Or there was some kind of there was some kind of a back
the value of it or something. And then, I mean, it's just art, right? It's the same scam as fine art, right?
Oh, you talking about what's his nuts?
Beeple.
Yeah.
I need is some fancy pants to appraise this at $1 million, and now suddenly my net worth just jumped.
Well, and they're talking about that in the art world as well. Like, I mean, not just the crypto side of it, but like actual art. What's is there just a scam of people walking in and going like, "I'll give you $1 million for that painting because I bought 10 of the other ones."
It's all money laundering, and you fuss around with it in the right way. Like you can take a fat chunk off of your income taxes and stuff because the value of my art depreciated by $1 million, and
right.
That's a write off. But then next year I get it reappraised and it's up $2 million, and it's fine, and I can sell it. Or,
depending on what kind of taxes you're paying that year.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's funny. I feel like AI
at least deserves the payday. How do you figure?
I feel like AI is at the.
I don't know the guy. I'm just being
the crypto bro stage at this point.
Beeple is an awesome artist.
Kind of an asshole from what I've.
He is an asshole. He's straight up hardcore asshole. Like
is he? Oh, I heard an interview. He sounded kind of interesting.
Just little things like I can't point at anything in particular, but he just gives me the vibe of like
everybody I know that's met him in person off camera said that he's just an arrogant prick.
Dude, if I'd made that much money, I'd be the biggest asshole on the planet.
It'd be hard not to be with that guy.
I don't need anybody anymore. I don't have to be nice to
never know.
Be nice to
Did you see Jim the Evo? He said this is a nice beard trend we got going on here.
Yeah.
Like me, I've got almost nothing, and then like you got David in the middle, and then you got Super Beardosaur over there.
Yeah. One day,
dude, that is awesome.
One day I'll be.
He made something for so long every day. Oh, that's true. I mean, you gotta give him some credit for the dedication. But I mean, I know.
Oh yeah.
I know some good streamers who did 2.5 years straight, never missed a day. That's
crazy.
That kind of thing.
It's so crazy.
So it's
I feel like,
which is again a tremendous accomplishment. Like,
well, this is the lie is the whole idea that it's the get rich quick scheme. And
it's not.
It's just never is, because the people, there's work involved in all of this stuff.
Here's the way it works. It's a get rich quick scheme for the first person that comes up with the idea. Everybody else after that has to work for it.
But even then, you look at like Beeple made all the money, but as you say, Beeple also did a piece of artwork every freaking day for God knows how long.
It still has, as far as I know. I don't think he's missed a day or something. Yeah, it's insane. It's years, literally years. He's made a piece of art and released it publicly every single day, every 24 hours.
Yeah, now it's probably all AI generated. I bet he's not even doing it himself anymore.
Probably he's just got Beeblebot running on top of ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's like the YouTube guys where they're always like, oh my God, look, they're making money for like nothing. All they do is just make videos. You're like, no, Linus is a freaking company. Huge company.
Yeah.
Hacksmith, same thing, where like they're doing this expenses involved.
I can speak from experience on this. That like when I first started with YouTube, this was probably 2008, I think, is when I first was like, I'm uploading a video to YouTube. The video went nowhere. It didn't do anything, right? It was just me tinkering around with my old flip video HD camera I got from like Circuit City or something like that.
Right.
And then my first video that was like a real breakthrough video was when I did the setup. My computer set, I think it was in 2012. I did.
That was like the Microsoft employee builds.
No, that was even, kind of. Yeah, I think that's what I said is like the Microsoft Dream Game Room or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I made that video and it blew up, it was crazy. But that one video got over its entire lifetime, got 3-point-something million views. The first million views it got made $32,000. A million views made $32,000. Today, a million views might make you $1,200, $1,000.
I was gonna say $1,000. Yeah,
if you're lucky.
Wow.
So it's changed. So, and plus that was back before ad blockers. Now there's ad blockers. So not only is CPM's gone, I think back then I was at a $32 CPM, which is $32 for every 1,000 views. Now
I'm such a sucker. I pay for premium now. I pay for YouTube Premium.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you want to support YouTubers, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I get more money from a subscriber using YouTube Premium than I ever will in the lifetime of them watching advertisements. It's such a better deal. Hey, by the way, Aubrey, thank you for the 350 ZAR.
Oh, yeah.
Have we ever gotten a ZAR
South African something or other.
That's awesome. We got a ZAR, man.
What is a ZAR?
South African something.
Wow.
I can't remember
the
name of
what it is.
Yeah, thanks.
And Belly Brand, thank you for the $3.69, keeping it 69. We do love that support. Appreciate it, guys. You know, the thing is, like, if you're the first person to an idea, if you're really like genuinely in that first pile, like back in the YouTube days, it would have been like PewDiePie. Let's see, like Jacksepticeye. I think he goes back quite a while. A lot
Stampy
of them are
Long Nose.
Yeah. A lot of them are gone now, but even the ones that are gone made millions and millions of dollars before they left. It was just a gold mine. But now you go there today and it's like, I think last time I looked, it's 12,000 now a day. 12,000 new YouTube channels every day get open.
Dang.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a niche, right? I mean, I feel like it's like it's become much more of a niche thing now. Like, it's not about going viral. It's about having like all these videos about creating your own little business. I mean,
that's it.
Yeah.
The riches are in the niches, right? I firmly believe that, man. Whatever your thing is, I've said this a bunch too on different streams and things, like everybody can totally carve out their place in the best way I liked putting it was a twist on the Andy Warhol thing about in the future everyone will have 15 minutes of fame. I believe that we are now in a moment in time where everyone can have their 15 like raving fans, right? And probably more, honestly, like whatever your thing is, like whatever it is that you geek out about, whatever that like people think, man, you're super weird. Why do you keep talking about marbles? You know, you can turn that into now with the appropriate like setting of expectations and stuff. You can totally turn that into your career, your life.
If you approach it as a business, I mean, if it goes from hobby to business, for sure.
Whatever your thing is, you can totally do that.
I find that stuff fascinating. My biggest issue is always that I love everything. I have no focus. I have no focus at all. I am interested in absolutely everything. Curiosity is my niche. That's my
I heard a funny saying the other day that was the only successful scam. Like the only successful scam out there is selling a scam. And, I was thinking about this, and it's like it's true. It's like the people that did real estate. You remember all the people that used to flip real estate?
Yeah, and
then all of a sudden they weren't making any money in it because everybody started flipping real estate. So then they started selling their ideas. Like, here, buy our course for $250. But it's like if you bought their course, you wouldn't make any money because that market was already dead. That's why they're selling you the secret.
That's YouTube. That's YouTube right now.
And that's what kills
everyone's
me too.
selling how to be YouTubers.
100%.
That kills me too. Anybody who's selling a course like that is a total scam. Don't like anybody in my opinion, anybody who has actually like found an interesting formula for whatever will totally give it away for free, because 99.9999% of people aren't going to act on it at all.
Yeah.
A true, like, and you see it all over the time. You see it everywhere. People who really have made it will sit you down and literally tell you, this is what I did, step by step by step.
Too. Yeah.
People
want courses, and it's like, it doesn't matter.
As
a perfect example of this is Puget Systems, the company I work for.
Yep. Everything when they give away everything. Yeah.
Everything. You can find the checklist. It's not like out there, but the QA checklist, the build checklist, every step that goes into building the PC and the QC process and everything is available.
And people
all of the testing that they do, this is why we pick the parts that we do, is out there for free. You can totally just scrub through all of that data and build your own machine that is exactly, you can find the pictures. Every picture they take of every single system that is sent out is available. You can find them. You could build an exact replica of a Puget Systems PC yourself all day long. Nobody does it.
Yep. You also never find a course that gives you any information that isn't just already in the public space.
Yep.
So I've looked at tons of them. People buy them. It's like, oh, they'll buy like a course, like somebody mentioned eBay in chat. They'll be like, oh, well, what you need to do on eBay is you need to do drop sell. You got to buy from Alibaba or whatever, and then put it up on eBay and increase it. It's like, but that's what every single free course says. That's all out there. Like everybody's been doing that to death, and you're not making any money because everybody's freaking doing it.
So some people need that though. Like I say that with acting all the time. People ask me about acting all the time, and what they want to hear is, "Here, meet my agent." That's basically what they want. Because they want someone to then take over and look after their career.
Yeah.
But but the reality is, they don't. There are some people who I feel like need the course to give themselves the confidence to do what they need to do. I think that's what they're selling in a way, which I don't understand. I'm a big fan of doing it yourself, and I didn't go to theater school or film school or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm obviously got a different bias on that. But I also understand, like talking to my little sister about it, I was like, why would you go to school for acting? That's stupid. She went to school for acting. She went to school for acting because she wanted to be able to walk into a room and feel like she knew her art.
And to be fair, you get an accolade out of that, right? It's like if you go to a reputable school, it's like, listen,
you get a certificate
people
or whatever.
signed off on me and said that they're proud to represent me, right? Like they said I'm good enough. Like if you go to Harvard and you go get a job and you suck at everything, that doesn't shine well on Harvard, right? So they're only going to give you what you've earned. So that's a little different with these courses. It's like you're not really being graded, you're not getting a certificate, you're not getting any of that. You're just basically saying, give us money, and we're going to give you like a bulleted list on how to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you follow every step, you're guaranteed to make $1 million. But then you start looking through it and you're like, well, one, it's impossible to follow every step because a lot of these steps are proprietary to your position, not mine. And the other thing
this has been going on forever too.
Oh, forever. This is the oldest trick.
This is the mail order, mail order electronics courses that I got ripped off on. I mean, like
multi-level marketing scam in the world. Is what it is. It's like when they come to you and they say, hey, listen, man, like you're going to buy something cheap and then you're going to sell it to somebody else for a lot more. Well, yeah, that worked great before the internet, but now the internet came along and connected everybody to everything. So it's like, okay, you're going to buy something from a site that everybody else can go to and buy it for the same exact price. And then you're going to hope that a bunch of them are stupid enough to buy yours because they saw an ad on social media. That even worked for a little while, but it just doesn't. Now it's just scams. It's just straight up like there's no benefit to it whatsoever. Because it used to be like, okay, a drop shipping thing. If you wanted to start a drop shipping business, can you make money? Yes, you can. If you find something really cheap at wish.com that just came out like yesterday, not a lot of people know about, and you buy a bunch of it and you store it in Amazon's warehouse and you say, okay, I'm going to sell it for triple the price. People will buy it. People buy it. You'll send it to them and they'll be happy because they're getting it faster.
Dude, I'll buy it.
It take 3 weeks from China.
I'll buy it because I'm not going to order from Alibaba. I don't want to wait 6 months. I'll pay an extra.
That is the biggest. That is the biggest hook. Is the convenience factor.
Convenience.
That is, I mean, that's why, like, say, Puget Systems can charge what they do for the PCs. Yeah, you can build it yourself for probably about half of what it would cost you to have them do it. But if something goes wrong, that's very inconvenient. You're waiting 6 weeks for an RMA. 100%. You got to figure that out yourself. You got to troubleshoot and figure out why it's broken or how it's broken or why is my whatever software not working right.
There's no guarantee it'll even get fixed either, because a lot of these Chinese places won't even refund you. Like they'll be, wait, we didn't sell you nothing. Like,
well, it's also supporting people too. I feel like I sign up for things just because I like what they're doing. Like
my entire business is
maybe I'm a
on
sucker
people supporting. So I get
no,
that.
that's true. Yeah.
If people didn't support, like I look at my business is the service industry. Right, it's like I'm trying to serve entertainment and education.
Good. Can I get a large latte? With,
exactly. Like, would you like a large Barnacules? I'll be.
That's it too, right?
Under
Starbucks.
October.
Oh, why would I pay $3 for a black cup of coffee when I can when it costs me 15 cents to do it at home?
Yeah,
because it takes me a few minutes, however, a minute and a half or 2 minutes for 5 minutes, whatever it takes. I have to buy the coffee. I got to put the filter in the thing. I got to push a button. I got to wait for the thing to fill up. I got to pour the coffee. I'm willing to spend a little more fixing my car. Everything, landscaping, doing a house cleaning, it all comes down to convenience.
I got a great example for that one. I remember when I was a kid, this is like many years ago, many moons ago, when Barnacules was a little fat child. I remember one of the things that we did in math class, is we looked at Michael Jordan and how much he makes per minute at his prime.
Oh, wow.
And I remember us doing this, it was like a story problem. And it's like, Michael Jordan makes like $10,000 a minute or something like that. And it was like at his prime. And it's like $10,000 a minute. If you factor that out, it's like, okay, if he spends a minute sitting there making his own coffee versus just driving through and picking it up, he called ahead, his person ordered it. He drives through that minute. He just got a $10,000 coffee for like $3 plus a $10 tip or something crazy that you probably left for the barista.
But
and that person's really happy. They made the coffee and they saved him time. Jets. This is another thing. Jets, biggest money dump in the world. Like a brand new, what is it? Gulfstream, the 4 or whatever, the latest one. They said it's $30 million starting.
Hold on a second.
Oh, go ahead.
But if it allows you to
keep going, I have to step away.
It allows you to do 4 meetings instead of
exactly. It's like $30 million for this jet, and even though you pay the $30 million for it, every single time you fire that thing up and fly it somewhere, it's costing you like $10,000 in fuel, $5,000 in crew, pilot, co-pilot, everything. I mean, it adds up quick, right? But I watched this YouTube documentary where this YouTuber stood outside of an airport, and every single time a guy drove by in a Lamborghini, he'd wave him down and he'd say, "Hey, where are you headed?" or whatever, because they're obviously going to the airport. They're flying somewhere. And he'd be like, "Do you have a private jet?" And they'd be like, "Yes." Every single one of them coming in. Yes, we're getting on a private jet. "Hey, can we go with you?" "Oh, no, sorry, I'm in a hurry." And they leave. One guy finally stops and says, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And they're like, "Well, why did you say yes to us?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't get where I am today by saying no." He's like, he's like, new challenge. It's always good to have new challenges. It's always good to challenge yourself. He's like, "Well, you didn't know what we were doing." He's like, "Well, you have cameras." He said, "You're obviously doing something with storytelling." And he's like, "I'd like to be a part of that." And I was like, "Okay, this guy's cool." He gets on his jet and they're like loading up and fueling. They bring him out
and then he murders them all.
He does.
Or hunts them on an island.
He flies over the Mexican border and like sells their kidneys, and then they figure out how he got the money. No,
or hunts them in a grand game.
But they asked him, they were like, "How much is it to fly this jet?" And he's like, "Well, normally it costs this much, but because I brought you guys aboard or whatever, and I pay per person for the services on the airplane, it cost me $1,800 or whatever to bring you guys along." And they're like, "Holy crap, well, we'll reimburse you for that." He's like, "Don't worry about it. It's nothing to me." And I was like, "Okay, this is crazy, right?" And he's like, "Well, why do you have a jet? Why not just fly, regular airlines?" He's like, "Well, if it takes me an hour in an airport to get through, all the checking and everything, and then get aboard an airplane, and then I fly to my destination, I'm fatigued or whatever." He's like, I could lose $100 million deal like that. He's like, it makes sense for me to be able to just move anywhere I want when I need to on a moment's notice. And because a lot of his deals that he does, this guy's a real estate guy, obviously they usually are, but he's a real estate guy and he needs to be there in person. Like he doesn't like doing his deals over the phone. That's one of the reasons why he makes so much money, is because he does these deals in person. He takes care of everything by himself. And so, but he's like, I make so much money that this $30 million he pays for this aircraft is like, makes him way more than $30 million. So he's like, that's how I can justify it. But if you didn't make $30 million off it, then that would be a huge waste to you. Right. And so he also talked about boats. He said that he had a yacht, but he doesn't own the yacht. He leases the yacht with 4 other people, and they each have like certain times that they use it, and they all negotiate. It's like a timeshare, right? But he's like, now I get access to this like, $250 million yacht every time that I want throughout the year to go do my trips and everything because his vacation times are very scheduled out. And he's like, I get to use it the same as if I own the boat. He's like, I have a crew. I can go anywhere I want. There's like no restrictions, but he's like, it costs me, only a couple of $1 million or whatever a year instead of buying a $250 million yacht and maintaining it with a crew. And he's like, and he's like, that's a better deal. He's like, I could afford the boat, but it wouldn't make sense because then I wouldn't be making money. But by me paying a couple $1 million and taking my vacations and unwinding, that re-energizes me, and then I can come back into the game hard. And he was just going back and he was justifying.
And he could rent
everything.
it out to people too. You could say like, go take it or use it for business deals.
Oh yeah, sure. He said when he wasn't using his jet, he leased it out. He said there's certain times of the year where his job just kind of goes slack, where he vacations. And he said when he vacations, he just rents his jet out. There's a leasing service that takes care of everything. He basically just hands them the keys or whatever, and they maintain it and put the hours and log. If anything breaks, they take care of it, and it's all insured and everything.
But I feel like these are the kind of guys who would fly economy if that made sense.
He said he would. He actually said specifically that he does fly economy sometimes. He said depending on where he's going and what he's doing, if it doesn't make sense for him to take the private jet, he won't. And he even said the same thing with his cars. It's like he has a Ferrari. He had a Ferrari. Or no, he pulled it in a Lamborghini. It was like a really nice Lamborghini, like a Aventador or something.
That I don't understand.
He's like, I use Uber all the time. He's like, I use Uber because it's too hard for me to drive around a nice car like this. It draws a lot of attention. He's like, I'll drive it to the airport because I have a hangar to park it in.
That's where it falls apart for me though, because I go then there's absolutely no monetary value other than I guess maybe marketing or drive around in that car.
And that's what it is. I think it's in real estate status is kind of a big deal. Like if you ever look at the real estate guys, they're always wearing like, nice suits, custom tailored.
It's multi-level marketing. It's exactly the same as multi-level marketing.
It is. You look at him and you're like, that guy must be like the best because he can afford all this stuff. But it's like rappers, right? It's like they can be flat broke and still have all that stuff just with a lot of debt.
I was talking to a kid. I was talking to a kid in Winnipeg who was a stand-in on the show and on the film, and poor guy, because we had one day of shooting outside. It was like historically cold, like in 100-year cold in Winnipeg on that day. Anyway, so he's out there doing this stuff, and I was talking to him, and he's talking about getting into acting and stuff, and I was like, well, what are you doing now? And he's like, well, I have a couple of rental properties that I have. I was like, dude, don't act. Just if you can run rental properties, then that is what you should do. I said, keep doing that, and then you get to a point where you'll have enough money, you make your own freaking movies.
Yeah, my hiring manager at Microsoft left 3 years into me working there. He left because he had so many properties and the market just took off. Like so when I remember his name was Tim Flynn, and he was the guy that he ultimately was the guy that didn't hire me. It was actually the guy that he talked to when he got to Microsoft that ended up saying he'd take me. Long story there, but anyways, Tim Flynn, the guy that interviewed me, the guy that actually interviewed me for the job, he was really big into real estate when all that stuff was kind of popping off. So what he was doing is he was buying these condos in Seattle, and they were like run down, beat up crack dens, like just garbage properties. And what he'd do is he'd buy the landlord. Yeah, basically. But what he did is he'd buy the properties, and then he had this other company that would come in and renovate the place for like, $50 or $100,000. They'd come in and like make it look like brand new, like nice, everything, all modern appliances, fix everything. And then he'd flip it back onto the market and not sell it, but he'd rent it or lease it. And so at one point, I think he started with the one property. Within a year, he had 3 properties. Within 3 years, he had 7 properties. And when he had 7 properties, he said each one of those 7 properties were bringing in an extra $2,000 over what he paid for him to the bank for the loans to repay the loans. So he's making $2,000 per property, right? So that's $14,000 a month he was making in profit while all these properties had people living in them. And he said that he had lease agreements with all the tenants, so they had to be there for at least 3 years. And if they left within 3 years, they had to give so much notice, they had to pay a big penalty, so he had time to get another person in there. And so he basically said that it was just this flawless freaking system where they go in and go out. And he said it's also protected against the market because the 3-year lease doesn't adjust if the market crashes out. So he still owes the same to the bank no matter what, because he has the mortgage, and the payment card. But if the whole market crashes and everything, and you're trying to sell real estate and you just paid $1 million for property, it's only worth $500,000. You have to sit on it, right? But if you're leasing it to somebody and you already have the agreement, you're already making profit on that agreement, and it's fixed money coming in and fixed money going out to the bank. It doesn't matter what the market does until you renegotiate later on.
Unless people start defaulting on their
right. If they start defaulting and disappearing and stuff like that, then you have some problems. But with the 7 properties, you would have to have that happen, to at least 3 of them before you're broken even, right?
We've made all of our money on real estate, and I don't even invest in real estate. It's purely on houses that we've lived in. We just bought houses that we wanted to live in. We fixed them up. And have done well since Jane. The houses I bought on my own all went. It's hard
to lose money on a house.
I did. I managed to. I definitely managed to. The first house I had, I bought for $210,000 Canadian, and I sold it for $190,000.
Oh, my neighbor is
13 years
story.
later.
So I had a neighbor. His name was Tony. This would have been about 10. No, this was before Xander's. This was been 13 years ago. You remember the big market crash? Was it 2008? There was like a huge market crash. No, but like the one that was like everything dropped to like a fraction of what it was. Like it was crazy. My neighbors had they were working at Microsoft and they had one of those H-1B visas. They were from Ireland. And they had to get it renewed to stay here. But when the housing market crashed and the economy was doing really bad, Microsoft didn't renew their job. So they could. They had a month to find another job, or they would lose their right to be here. They bought a house. They bought my house right next to me. That I think they paid at the time it was like $400,000 or $500,000 for it. It was because it's a lot bigger house than mine. And they bought it, and the market crashed out from under them as they were having to leave the country, and they had to sell the house because once they're out of the country, they would have had to pay a brokerage to sell it for them while they were gone, which costs like that stacks up a lot over time. Apparently, like that's a bad thing to do unless you absolutely have to. So they ended up taking a bath on it. They sold it, and I think they lost like $120,000 in equity on the house over what they paid for the loan. And then the dude that moved in, who bought the house from him, he actually had it for like, he bought it for like next to nothing. He was in it for 7 years, and he sold it and he doubled his money. In 7 years.
We have a friend recently had in Toronto who had a house that they bought for, I don't know, it was like bought it for a couple $100,000. They sold it for like 1 million. Like it was like this, it was great. But the problem was this: they were in the house, they bought a new house, the market not collapsed, but certainly dropped considerably just after they signed the deal. So they now have a house
that's the worst,
that's worth more than the market, and they haven't sold their house yet. So their house is worth less than they had. So they had to get a gap loan to float the deal while they waited to sell the house, and then sold the house. So they now just owe an F load more than they had planned on. Yeah.
So I actually got a sweet deal. So when I bought my house, I bought a brand new construction in 2002 was when this house was built. And I bought it for $248,000. I remember it was the total mortgage all in, and we put $50,000 down because my wife got money from I think one of her relatives passed away and left her some money.
Sorry, just give me the number again.
For the house or 248,000.
Yeah.
So I paid 200, and this is for a 1,600 square foot house. I mean, not on a lot of land, like it's a 5,500 square foot lot, but it's basically near Microsoft. It's like near Redmond. I'm 11 miles from the Redmond campus, and so it's mostly Microsofties out here to live here. So 248,000 is what I paid for my house. But if I had stayed in Redmond, it would have been double that for the same house and the same property.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the average house price in Toronto now is like $1.2 million.
Yeah, so my
average
house,
freaking house price.
So right now, my house actually, I'll look at it live. I'm curious to see what we got here. Let's go Zillow, right? I think it's like Zillow. Let's see what their estimate.
I always liked Redfin. That was my favorite one in the States. I loved Redfin
because I only owe. I think last time we checked, I owe just under $60,000 left, and all.
You too could help Barnacules pay for his house.
So
where's Sarah McLaughlin when we need her?
So my estimate right now on my house, if I sold it today, the fair market value would be $743,000.
Yeah. The problem is the next house you buy is going to be 700.
It's going to be exactly. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
My father says this as well. It's like, great, you made a lot of money on your house. Where are you going to live?
But
in our case, we're going back to England, and I'm going to get a pig and a tractor. So,
there is a trick. There is a trick if you're willing to play the game, and that is, you sell. Like if I sold my house right now, I'd sell it for 743. I would invest the 743, and then what I do is just go lease a property for like 3 years. That's like really cheap. And then I would basically just camp out there and live there for like the 3 years as the time was going by and wait for the market to like jump or wait for the right deal. Because
unless the market collapses, that's the problem.
If the market collapses, then you're going to have to be camped out for a while.
What if we go to war with China or something, and then you're like, oh,
that
crap.
Is true. No, you know it's always a risk. It's always a risk. But the other thing too is, like you said, I'd have to buy another house that would cost the same. Not if I move though. If I move, like for instance, right now my house here, it's $743,000 for the same house with even more land in Eastern Washington, just 3 hours that direction. It's $98,000.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I have to live out in the middle of like a desert where there's like no infrastructure, and I probably have to set up a solar array to get power. But or like another place I found.
Look, Aux's eyes are glinting already at the thought of that.
Like what was it? Arizona. I was looking at some properties in Arizona, and you can buy like a 3,000 square foot, like nice, newly renovated house on like 5 acres of land for like 150, 160.
Dude, I do this all the time. I'm looking at islands. Like I'm looking at, like in the middle of freaking nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I want. I love this
to convert or something.
There's this TikTok account that I stumble on every once in a while, and he compares Canadian home prices to literal English castles. Like he's like, oh, here's this house, which I was shocked to see this one. It's like a house in Vancouver, BC, just a couple hours north of me. It must be like almost downtown or like close to city,
Vancouver was
city,
pretty spendy.
because this house is like cheese ball house, 1,600 square feet, it was two bedroom, 3 bath. It was nothing fancy. They wanted like $3 million for it.
Yep.
It was bonkers. I'm like, this is no way. The thing had to have been built in like 65 or something. And then he's like, or you could buy this castle in England for $3.5 million, and you get like, it had like 28 acres of farmland. The house is on
the
5 acres of
upkeep,
like
the problem is upkeep on that stuff. I don't mind that, but my wife would probably argue that.
But man, I'm like, that's the way to go. I don't want to. In part, my lady and I have tossed around the idea a bit of buying some cheaper houses in different places, so that, like, if we want to go, it's shitty winter time, we can just pop down to Arizona.
We're talking about doing it in Toronto. Like, we're in a nice area in Toronto. What if you move a little further east, knock $1 million off the freaking price, and then use that money to fix it up and stuff?
Yeah, like, look at this. Check this out. So San Francisco. I just typed in San Francisco. I'm like, because when I was down there, I saw
Frisco, man. That's insane in America. That's dumb.
Yeah, so for a 4,100 square foot house, which is big, that's a big house. It's like 3 times the size of my house. $3.65 million on Broderick Street. The cheapest thing I found so far is 700. Ooh, surprising. That's got to be like a cracked in though. Oh, 599,000 for a 828 square foot condo.
Wow,
600 grand for 828 square feet.
That's just
stupid.
Dumb. There's no, and plus Frisco sucks. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's the only place where I've
in alleys there.
Yeah,
so
right.
If you want to see the water, the water in San Francisco, 4.175 million for my house down there.
Crazy.
2,000 square foot. That's crazy.
So dumb.
What is our?
There's nothing worth. I mean, I only spent like a day in San Francisco, but it was not cool. It felt very tight and claustrophobic, and I mean, Golden Gate Park was cool, I guess, but
I mean, going down to the waterfront's really neat, but it is very crowded, very, hustle packed in.
It floods.
Yeah, the most expensive houses that I saw though are the ones that are on the hill that you can't even get a car to. Like, there's all these houses in San Francisco that people just like like carried in the lumber and shit on their backs. So it's like these little huts, and they're selling for like 1.2 to $3 million for these little like studio huts that are built on the side of a mountain. I mean, literally, it's so steep that they had to like put pilings in the ground to level the construction, right? And I was walking down there, and I was like, dude, what if there's like an emergency or something? They can't get a freaking Lifeline helicopter in there. Like, paramedics have to park at the top of the hill, like hoof it down like a quarter mile, get you on a stretcher, and then hoof you back up this steep hill to get you out. And I was
we lived in the Hollywood Hills, and they're all on stilts. They're all,
really?
And not that surprisingly cheap compared to like somewhere like Santa Monica, which of course will just liquefy and disappear into the ocean. So,
right.
Like Nashville, Tennessee, $180,000 for 815 square foot house. I mean, small house, but still.
All right, I'm looking for the average house price in Toronto. Let's see what this is, because
we've got crazy, man. Like, but there's some really cheap places. Like, as long as you're really far away from infrastructure, stuff gets super cheap. Oh, Las Vegas, a mile off the strip, and Las Vegas costs like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, because
who the F wants to live there?
Dude, but everything is cheap. Like,
nobody lives in Vegas.
No, I love the idea. Like, I'm all for that.
Right,
I don't care where I live. I don't care where I live, because as long as I got high-speed internet, that's all I care about. And a nice
high-speed internet
or whatever.
Guess what? Guess what, guys? So the trucks are outside digging the pipe finally to run me fiber for my fiber optic connection.
About time.
About time, right? So the other day I was outside and I noticed them. They were out there and they're like digging up the neighbor's driveway. I'm sure they're thrilled about that. They're literally cutting into their concrete driveway because the easement that they have with the city says that the city can install utilities. So they're basically going to have a patch on their, I feel bad, but they're going to have a patch on their driveway where it like doesn't match up with the rest of it.
But not that bad.
Yeah, not that bad, because I'm getting, up to 5 gig symmetrical if I want it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's what I'm worried about, getting a pig and a tractor and living in England. Like, Jane's got a place in Warwickshire that her dad owns. It's got like land, and it's
Internet'll be shit though. Yep.
The internet is total
Absolute
shit.
garbage,
I started looking at freaking Elon Musk stuff because I was like, well, maybe I get like multiple ones in like, multiplex them together.
I couldn't believe how backwards of a country England is when it comes to internet. I could not.
It's insane.
You know who's even worse though is Australia. Dude, Australia.
They're better now though. No, they used to be bad. They've got better though.
Okay, because
they're not. I mean, big countries, right?
Because I had a couple friends in Australia, and they always used to bitch when I complain about my internet connection. Like, oh, I only got 15 megabit or whatever. They're like, dude, we have 0.75 megabit. Like, we don't even have a megabit. And we're
New Zealand, I
like
remember being pretty bad too, actually.
Yeah, and I guess they have to pay. Like it's almost like a long distance phone call where it's like they have to pay by the hour too. It's like it's not like just unlimited internet. It's like modem almost, like DSL, and you pay by the hour or some shit. I don't know. Do we got anybody in here from Australia or New Zealand that has like that really crappy internet? Everybody always
because when I first went to Australia, I was like, oh my God, it was like freaking 56K modems. Like, I mean, it was ridiculous. And then literally like 5 years later, I went and I was like, holy crap, everyone seemed better than it was anyways. You know what I mean?
Good.
But England surprises me because London's well connected. But London's out of freaking price too. I mean, the prices in London are insane.
Yeah, London is like your New York or San Francisco over there. It's the same, just ridiculous price. Everybody's packed in. What I couldn't believe though is like owning a car in England, you have to pay a congestion tax to like drive on the road.
If you drive in downtown London, yeah.
And I thought, and I saw it. I was watching an episode of Top Gear, and it was like $13 or something like that, like on top of fuel, which is already ungodly expensive over there. Because I guess fuel isn't subsidized at all over there, right? Doesn't it work out to like $6 or $7 a gallon or something like that? It's up there.
Yeah, it's crazy expensive. Yeah.
I think it's very similar to like Canada too. Like where you go up there and you're like, oh man, it's only $1.75, and then you realize it's per liter. You know, and you're like,
and it's 4 liters to a gallon.
Yeah, dude, I made that mistake the first time I drove up there. I put the nozzle in and I just hit it and walked inside of the store to go get food. And I come out and it was like $200, like $198 or something to fill my tank. And I was like, what happened? Like, I was just in shock. I was like, that can't be right. That's got to be like Canadian money or something, which it was, but still the conversion wasn't that bad. I was like, damn.
Jim the Evo saying that a bunch of communities in the UK have started rolling out their own fiber. That's what I want to do.
Good.
Most of the large towns in the UK has much better fiber connection speed than the US, and it is cheaper.
Oh, really? So they are. Why
don't you move back home then? Sorry. But yeah, it's that's what I want to do. I'd love to get the town. Of course, the town hates us now because we banned the hunt. They have a fox hunt and they wanted to run over the land, and we said no. So the town probably freaking hates us because we said no to that.
Uh-oh.
I was like, seriously, a bunch of toffs on horses chasing a freaking fox around so that their stupid inbred dogs could tear it to pieces.
And I mean, a fox is a dog, dude. It is. It's like a cross between a dog and a cat, but it's cuter. They make the cutest little noises. They're stupid smart. Yeah. It's like, just if you got to kill the animals, kill the dumb ones first, okay? Like,
and if they're a pest, to kill them in a humane way. You don't freaking
dumb and ugly and make
blow stupid horns and have idiots running around their horses. Yeah.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, that's it.
The U.S. pays me much, much more than the UK world, or the UK would.
Oh, I bet.
Taxes too is a big problem, right? Because like, don't you? I think in UK, so you pay more for fuel, you pay more for utilities. I think for the most part, electricity I know is more expensive over there, especially now.
You seen how tiny England is? Like, if you see, it's so ridiculously small. It fits in a tiny corner of the freaking province I live in.
The weird thing is more people. I have to change my thinking because, like, living in the United States, we look at states like you guys look at it like other countries.
Oh God, yeah.
Like you can literally just drive across like 3 countries in a day, and it's like we can't do that here. Like we can drive across
Canada for God's sake.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you're from Canada. Like, is it cold? It's like, well, it depends where you're living in Canada. It's freaking kind of a quarter of the fucking planet.
Yeah.
It's like
I was just talking with my lady about something, or no, it was the teenager, something about Canada. Oh, we were talking about like politics and stuff, and like how difficult it is for the United States to get 370 million people to all kind of halfway agree on stuff. And he's like, well, but like Canada seems to work out okay. Like they're huge, and they seem to. I mean, for the most part, they all seem to kind of get along. And I'm like, well, they have a lot of the same kind of bullshit that we do with, crazy right wingers or one side or the other and all that stuff. But at the same time, there's like 13 million people in the entire freaking country. They all live right along the border or out in the freaking sticks where they don't give a shit about anybody else.
Like being governed. Like I feel like in the States, the people want to govern, and in Canada we want the government to look after us. I think it's definitely a more socialist approach.
It's weird. We're raised to believe the government is like tyrannical and out to get us and shit. Like that's kind of a common theme here in the United States.
Yeah, there's a weird mix of like outrageous individualism, but then at the same time, like some people still cry to like daddy, the government, when things aren't fair. And I think that's the trouble is the United States has been built on the idea of like rugged individualism and you know, I shouldn't have to take care of anybody but me and mine. You know,
they're selling the dream, but I feel like the dream's turned from. I feel like people mistake selfishness for freedom now, and I think that's everywhere. I don't think that's just the States. I think that's just in general. I feel like people feel like they should have the right to be completely and entirely selfish, and that is.
I do think we're moving away from that, though, more and more. I'm hopeful for the youth.
Yeah, me too. Oh my God, I had the most amazing conversation with my son the other day, where I was like, I came down and I was saying. There was an article that I'd seen about, they were talking about black safe spaces in universities. And I was like, I know, like, I want to be an ally. I think I want to support, us all getting along and equality and stuff. But I was like, but something felt wrong about that. I was like, so what? So now do we need a safe space for LGBTQ and for various different shades of people? And then finally, I was like, then are we going to have like white safe spaces? Like, where are we going to?
No,
where does this
you can't
end?
do that.
Where does this end? And my son said, Dad, he says, but that's the problem. He says the problem is not the black safe space. The problem is that is someone attempting to slap a Band-Aid on what is the larger problem. And the problem is make the freaking school safe for everybody.
For everybody.
Instead of trying to patch it with these stupid, and it's just like, it's just signaling.
No, that's what I told my wife. We're just doing the same thing. We're repeating history is what we're doing. We're segregating people again. That's all we're doing. It's not creating a safe space is less about creating a space and more about just segregating people again. We're just like, you guys go in this little thing, you go over here, you go over here, everybody go into your own little buckets, then you all have to sit there and wonder what the other bucket thinks about everything else because you don't interact with them.
The intent is a little more positive.
No, I agree.
Absolutely. I think it's totally positive.
That's like
totally positive. I mean, and I think it's unfortunate that people feel that they need to have these spaces. I don't want to take the spaces away. But I was saying to my son, I was like, I'm concerned that this attempt to fix things is actually tearing us apart. And he was saying, like, well, yes, because you're not fixing it. You're just patching it. This is a freaking 15-year-old. That's why I have faith in the future.
Yeah,
because I got a 15-year-old explaining to me why I feel outraged.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I feel like one thing that we do really, really bad here is we tend to just Band-Aid shit. Like we're very, very big on let's do something immediately for the field.
4-year cycle.
That's why. For the political crap. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna do what I can do within my time, even if it's worse overall.
That's all that matters.
Then start something that could be continued over a couple generations and get us a good result. Like the one that we keep playing with here, the big one that like separates everybody is of course gun rights, right? That's a huge one here in the United States where it's like there's a lot of people that are right on the middle where that's like they would be okay with like a lot more background checks, a lot more training, a lot more making sure people are safe. And then you have the other side that's like, then you have the two independent sides that are just fully against it or way too for it, on both sides fight. So the solution is, well, let's just ban everything. But it's like, has prohibition ever worked for anything?
No.
We tried it with alcohol. That went horribly wrong. We tried it with drugs.
Reasonable regulation works great.
Yeah.
It's an information
vehicles
issue.
Turn out just fine. And, every other thing that like you have to, get trained for and be licensed to do, electricians or plumbers or, anything else that can cause a public safety hazard. That seems to work out just fine. How many buildings are collapsing anymore? How many people are getting electrocuted by grabbing doorknobs and stuff?
Train people. Like you have to get trained to do anything dangerous in the world. Why on earth wouldn't you train people with guns? It doesn't make any sense.
My answer was always, isn't murder illegal? Like last I checked, murder is illegal. Like you're not allowed to kill other people. Like that has been against the law for as long as I can remember. Right. And yet people still do it. Like they still want to kill each other. It's like, shouldn't we focus on the things like, and I'm not saying we don't go focus on some other stuff too. Like I'm all for, like I told somebody the other day, I was like, if I had to do a bunch more paperwork and wait a lot longer to like get a gun or whatever, and I had to actually go train and prove that I'm proficient with it, just like driving a car, I would do that. I would happily do that. If there was a tangible result in front of me that said this will help protect people, I would happily do it. Like no problem. But the thing is, they're just like, oh, well, let's just ban stuff and that'll solve the problem, because what it does is it changes the header of the report. It doesn't change the results. It just changes where they're at. So it's like now it's all illegal. Like everything is illegal that was legal before. So you're like, wow, we've drastically reduced crime, but did you? Or crime went way up over here. Well, that's because people just owned stuff you told them they couldn't own anymore. Like now they're just criminals overnight. It just doesn't make any sense that we keep the same thing with mental health care and regular health care here. It's like, okay, well, why don't we focus some of the money? Like, let's go take the money from that, put it there and say, hey, everybody gets mental health care, and let's do preventative. Like, let's try to like stop, catch people when they're freaking out and online posting crazy manifestos and increasingly getting more and more suspicious.
Oh, but then but then you're spying. But then their rights are being trampled because you're looking at them and saying like, hey, you shouldn't say that. So now I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, true. But every one of these shootings that I've seen so far, it's after the fact. It's like, oh, they were posting shit on their Facebook, or they were posting shit on they were posting shit. It's not a matter of spying. They're volunteering this information because they want to be seen. Like they are trying to be seen, and people are just ignoring them because everybody's like, not my problem. And then it happens, then everybody's on the media like, oh man, I knew that guy. He used to send me a message this morning saying he was going to do a bunch of bad shit. And I just ignored it because I was like, not my problem. Like, oh, you just wanted attention. And it's like, no, mental health is like a big thing that we struggle with here in the United States. Like really, really badly.
Everywhere.
Like,
absolutely everywhere.
Come to think of it, I went to Chicago. I ran into a lot of people on the street that were like dangers to themselves and others. I almost got stabbed by one of them.
Toronto is having a horrible problem because during the pandemic, a lot of people who did not have a place to live, who were out of their heads and didn't want to be, in shelters or whatever, or that the shelters were just so horrible to be in, ended up in the subway system. So they're living basically in the subway. They're freaking nuts, and and people are now hurting each other. And it's like, and there's an issue, we need to look after people. I think at the same time, I feel like it forces the problem with all of this stuff that's a lot of this stems from, I think, is that we're struggling with old ideas of right and wrong and good and bad and all this kind of stuff, where I feel like, we feel like if someone does something wrong, they should be punished. Well, what if they did something wrong because their brain's not working properly?
Yeah, see,
we still think we want to punish them.
Yeah.
No,
I agree with that. I think that there should be, if you are, because our justice system accounts for that. Like we do have a mental defense. Like if you go there and it's like, okay, but
that shouldn't be a defense. That should just be There's just be a different stream for them, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying we already account for that in our legal system. So why don't we account in other systems? Why don't we say, listen, if your neighbor keeps running out of his house naked in the morning saying he's on fire, and
who told you?
Making sweet love to the neighbor's newspaper in their driveway, how about instead of calling the cops or whatever, like the mental folk come out and have a sit down and maybe be like, hey,
well, that's
dude,
what we're doing
what
here.
Do you need? Like what?
Yeah. So here we have social. So now we have, the idea here was, we had an issue where, a couple of police sort of barged into a house that the parents had called and said, look, we need some help subduing our son. He's got issues, whatever, or a woman, I can't remember what it was, and they left out a window, literally so basically the police showed up, this poor person jumped out of a window and died. So they were like, look, we've got to stop showing up with, like, the police don't want to do it. They don't want to deal with it. Yeah. You can't show up with force. And so you need people who are trained in this to deal with these people. But at the same time, you also need them to be protected.
Yeah, so my son's on the spectrum, and it scares the shit out of me. Like, what would happen if the cops just broke into the house? What would he do? Like, we try to work with him and train him not to panic or, start just rambling, and repeating everything they say. Like, are you the shooter? Am I the shooter? I'm the shooter. I'm the shooter. He'd do that because he's in a panic. And then, they could do really bad things to him. So it's like, we have to really, really work at that. And that is a genuine fear that we've had, right?
Yeah,
so we have to go out of the way.
This is the same issue that I think we have with the idea of a police force that sees someone of color as more of a threat. I mean, if you don't understand, if you're not aware of the differences, if you're not used to dealing with different people with different, a perfect example is the school that I just love the people who run the school for kids with developmental and physical disabilities. They go up to 21 years old. When the internet goes down at that school, you have giant 21-year-olds who don't know how to control themselves running around wrecking the place.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And these people have to deal with that. And they're so beautiful about it because they care about these kids and they laugh about how the silliness of the situation. But some people will see that as a threat. If there was a policeman in that school when that giant crazy guy comes running down screaming about the internet.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Wrong person in the wrong situation. I mean,
well, I worked with my mom when I was 16 years old. I worked with my mom at a facility for surrendered children to the state. So they basically, the state said that they were a danger to themselves and others because of their mental illnesses, and the state had to take custody of these children because they were a danger. Like, these are kids that could easily kill themselves or another person. And so I went to work with my mom. I was there for like a week, and I left after like a kid got me. He caught me off guard in the bathroom. He got me in an arm lock, took me down to the ground, and I could not get free. He was overpowering me when he was like half my size. And after going through that experience, and the thing is from his perspective, he was just scared. When he gets scared, he grabs onto something and he squeezes it as hard as humanly possible. He doesn't realize he's hurting another human or himself.
Yeah.
And he fractured his elbow too. Like he can fracture he can grab onto himself so tight like this that he can actually hurt himself. So they have to actually restrain him and calm him down if he gets too excitable, because he can hurt himself, and he'll grab onto the next person that's closest to him. He'll just grab onto him, squeeze the life out of him.
And like you have to know how to deal with those people.
You have to know how to handle it. Yeah. And I didn't, and it caught me off guard. And it's like, if a person was like that is out on the streets and we don't have the ability to give them the help that they need, they absolutely are. Like one of the saddest experiences I ever had in my life was when I went to Seattle to Emerald City Comic-Con. And it's like 11 or 12 at night. I'm walking down the street, and there's a guy on the ground arching his back so hard I thought he was going to break his spine. Like, I'd never seen, like, he was almost touching the back of his head to his ass. He was that far arched back, and his eyes were rolling back in his head, and foam was coming out of his mouth. And I was like, okay, well, I can't touch this dude like this. He's violently shaking too. So I call 911. I'm like, this dude sidewalk, I read the cross street. It said, hey, send somebody immediately. Somebody is on the ground, like shaking, foam's coming out of their mouth. They're like, okay, don't touch him. Whatever you do, don't touch him. Just stay there. We're sending somebody right now. The cops literally drive by, shine a light at him, and then just turn the light off and just drive away. They didn't get out of the car. And I'm standing there right adjacent to the street watching what's going on. I even have a video of it. I record it, and I'm just so pissed. So I call 911 again. I'm like, dude, the cops just drove by, shined a light at him, kept going. The dude is on the ground right now. People are just walking by him like he's not even there, right? He's invisible. And so finally the paramedics come after probably 20 minutes. The paramedic gets out, and you can tell they're just like, they're done, right? They're frustrated. They get out, they walk over and grab the guy by his arms, pull him up on his feet, lean him against the building as he's still like trying to fall over. And they let go of him for a couple seconds, catch him, let go of him for a couple seconds. Sir, are you okay? Sir, are you okay? He's like, and they're like, okay. And then they just go get back into the thing and just drive off. Just leave him there. And he just falls right back to the ground, starts foaming again. And I'm just like, that dude's probably going to die. Like that
guy's going to die. Absolutely, he's going to die. But again, I would say there's a danger though there as well of like, I mean, I'm not saying you're doing this, but that, the police are not equipped to handle this stuff. Nor should they be expected to. And the paramedics, I mean, it's got to be so frustrating when you're like, I'm on a call treating with this guy who's going to OD again. I remember that when I went in, Baz broke his arm. I remember going into the hospital, horrible experience, huge wait as always. I got like grilled by this nurse because of course I hadn't thought of it at the time, but of course, broken arm. Is it dad? Did dad break the arm? You know what I mean? So, so you're treated like a freaking criminal from the moment you show up. But while we were there, this paramedic brought in this guy who was completely out. And then he proceeded to wake up while we were there and start like, where's my wallet? Where's this? And start screaming at these paramedics and freaking out. And eventually the paramedic turned to him and just in this very terse way said, you were dead 5 minutes ago. We have revived you. Shut the fuck up, like literally, because he knew what was going to happen. As soon as this guy got his wallet, as soon as this guy got back out on the street, he's going to OD again.
No, and that's what they told me.
It's got to be like soul destroying.
They did tell me that when I called 911 the second time. They explained to me, they're like, listen, there's lots of things going on in the city, and they have to figure out what they're going to spend their time on because they can't get it all. Like they have to make a thing. But it's like my observation. And they thought that it was very uneducated, and perhaps they're right because I'm not there a whole lot of time and I don't see this stuff, is that is common of a drug overdose. It's for people to be on the ground, like, foam coming out of their mouth and eyes rolling back in their head and shaking and having violent seizures. And they're like, they picked that, like they chose that. And so we need to go save the people that didn't choose that. But I'm of the mind of, did they really choose that, or did
they choose that, or
fail them horribly, and then that was their escape?
Are they self-medicating because of?
Yeah.
In many cases, they're self-medicating because of emotional or.
It's like every person I've ever talked to that has dealt with addiction, like the difference between a functional addict and an addict that's on the street with his eyes rolling back in his head and foaming is just life situation.
One bad day.
Yeah, it's one bad day, right? You lose too much and you can't get your footing again, and then it just spirals downhill. And there's just no way to get it back once you get past a certain point, because society just ignores you.
Well, but it's also money as well. There's an issue there where the fact is that, I mean, sadly here, yes, supposedly everything's covered by the government, except it's not. And a lot of this stuff is up to private citizens to pay for their own siblings or parents or whatever to have these treatments, because there's no support for it. It's so expensive. It's so ongoing. And I don't think we understand the brain. I don't think we even want to understand the brain. My fear is that if we start looking at the brain as like a chemical process, we're going to, all of a sudden, it's going to undermine every single one of these belief systems that we have, that, of truth and justice and all this stuff, because you go like, we're freaking animals. We function. We're electrochemical processes. People. There is no good and evil. That's what's so sad about it. Is I think it's like, it's all about
good and evil is just perspective, right? I mean, can you name a single evil person that was like straight up like, oh, I know I'm evil and I'm doing this because it's evil and I love it so much because it's evil?
The villain is never the villain in their own eyes.
They always say, the person who isn't the villain is the person who won. Whoever wins and writes the history, it's like, because you look at us and it's like, we've done terrible things as a country, right? But because we got to write history, we get to shine ourselves in a better light. Yep. It's like we did the terrible things that other people did, right? We killed huge masses of people and killed women and children, like, and we're not even denying it, right? It's like, we've done that. That's war. But because we're the ones that won, we get to write that, hey, we did it for the good guys. It's like, woo. But if Hitler had won, I'm sure the history books would have been like, oh, he cleansed the earth and Jesus loves him or whatever. It's whoever writes the damn book, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty easy to determine basic good from evil, right? Good is supporting and uplifting other people around you and working as a community. Bad is being selfish as fuck and trying to kill everybody else off for your own benefit. Like, those are the extreme ends, right?
But then
everything
what happens
in between is a gray area.
And but the problem is, I think we live in the gray area. That's the struggle of it. It's like, it's wrong to kill unless someone's trying to kill you. But then why are they trying to kill? Like, I feel like I don't even know if we'll ever solve this problem, obviously. And I've always I've always considered myself up until recently like a bleeding heart conservative. Like, I feel like I believe in a system in a capitalist system that supports and builds, and you work hard and you get somewhere and you do things. I don't believe you should give things away, but more and more I'm wondering if maybe I need to question that more, because I worry that we've been sold a bill of goods, that there's some kind of equality, that there's some kind of a fairness in this, and I don't think there is. I don't think there is at all.
No, I don't think that there's a perfect balance. I don't think that's impossible, honestly. No. Like, realistically thinking, but I think we can do a hell of a lot better than we're doing now.
I agree. Because, but I don't think it's just a personal thing. I think that's a government thing too. Like, I think the government has to start stepping up instead of
a societal issue for everybody.
It's like, if I'm being honest, looking at myself, I grew up dirt poor, right? I grew up on the food bank, welfare, dad struggling to work, not paying taxes, working under the table and shit just to barely get by. And it's like, I know what that's like, but then I grew up and then I get my dream job at Microsoft somehow, right? Through fucking, like, just the right thing at the right time. Luck is a thing. And I get this job and
and hard work.
Yeah. And hard work. But again, opportunities, they don't just fall in your lap. Like, you have to be at the right place at the right time, right? You don't show up for a job interview. It's not going to happen. If you don't know the person who knows the person, you're not getting the interview. It's like, it takes connections. But once I got there, I was like, okay, well, now I'm making crazy money. And it's getting crazier and crazier. I think at the peak of my career, I was making $350,000 a year, which for me was the most I'd ever made growing up with my parents. I think was $16K a year or something like that, working at Sears. So it was such a huge jump for me that one thing I noticed is that I shifted heavily. Like, I grew up more liberal, but with a lot of conservative things too. Because, like, growing up, it's like hunting was a normal thing, owning guns was a normal thing. Like, these aren't considered liberal traits today, but back then where I grew up, they were. However, now I grow up, I got all this money. Now all of a sudden I'm like, woo, go team conservative, right? I'm like, now I got the money. I'm the one succeeding. So I want to keep more of it and I want to give less of it away. And I don't want to help other people because I want more. I already suffered. Fuck them. But
that's
now,
a big part of it.
Yeah, but then I start coming down the other side and reality hits again. It's like now I've lived in all these different areas, right? Lower class, middle class, touching upper class just a little bit and jumping around. It's like now I have the perspective of all of them, which I think is rare. Not a lot of people get to jump between classes like that.
Yeah.
So once I did that, then I start settling into this area where it's like I can start seeing a lot of things right on both sides, but neither side as a whole can see the right and the other side. Like there is a middle ground. Like there is a place where those two would interface and it works. Like it would work. And I can see that, but I don't think many people can because they're either on the side where it's like they make so much money, they don't want to pay any tax because they don't have to. And the people in charge can make that possible for them.
Or they're going to be millionaires. Like I feel like everyone votes, and I feel like everyone votes and approaches the world in America like they could be the next entrepreneur to make the huge money.
I feel like we raise kids to
there's a
believe
line about that like most Americans just see themselves as like temporarily impoverished millionaires.
Temporary impoverished. I can't remember who said that. I thought it was brilliant because I think that what a great way to build things towards a more conservative, more sort of capitalist approach to stuff than to have people believe that they are. Look, it's funny. So interesting. Sort of,
you got to dangle a
part. There was, we'll talk about dangling carrots. So I'm in Winnipeg. I'm not a big fan of Winnipeg. I got to say, it's in the prairies. I don't understand why people stop in the middle of the country. I love the Winnipeggers. They're the best freaking people on the planet. They're so smart and funny and resilient. And they've got this huge population of immigrants that are coming to Winnipeg because there are huge incentives to get people out there because why the hell else would they be there in my mind? No offense to Winnipeg, but every offense to Winnipeg. I loved working there. I look forward to working there again inside, not in the winter. But what I found talking to a lot of these people, all of whom are driving Ubers, there's an Uber 1 minute away from you in Winnipeg at all times. Every single one of them wanted to go to the States. And I was like, why? You're in Canada. Like, I thought, like, why do you want to go to the
isn't it better?
Business? Because it's going to be, because when I go to America, I'm going to be freaking rich. I'm going to have companies. The government's not going to care about what I do. There's not going to be as many rules. I'm going to be.
That's our ad, though, isn't it? Like, isn't that
our
literally
the ad?
Is like, come to America and live the dream. Give us your sick. Give us your poor. We'll make them all millionaires. Yeah. But what we forget to tell them is that there's a finite amount of resources and the top 5% control it. It's like that's the part that nobody hears, right?
Well, and that's what I was saying. I was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I get it. I want to go to the States. I loved living in California. It was freaking great. I was in the genesis of all the projects that are happening. I do feel kind of left out now that I'm up in Canada, but it's so funny to me how that dream is still being sold,
still perpetuated.
And I still believe in it. I still think that there's a possibility that could happen.
And that's what I mean about like setting the expectation earlier about like the niches and stuff. It like, would you rather make $80K or $45K a year and love every minute of your life and what you do to make that money?
Yes.
Or make $100K a year and be fucking miserable. And like that's the thing is people don't realize like man, I don't know, like I'd probably talk to Kevlar about this, but I bet the vast majority of ultra wealthy folk are pretty miserable. Because like you can't trust people, you don't know if they're like genuinely
they just sucking up
you don't like every what is that? There's a song "Mo Money, Mo Problems," right? It's like there's definitely a balance to be reached for.
Yeah, I don't want a corporation. I want a cottage industry. I want something that will maintain my lifestyle without the hassles of business.
If that's why I keep thinking to myself is like I don't want to build. Like I don't want to build something so big that like I have to start worrying like my boss again, right? Puget Systems grown massively over the last 23 years. Is outrageous how well this business has done. But now
as soon as I got the money, I'm buying one in Canada. As soon as I can.
When I talk to my boss, he's telling me about like, you know, when the pandemic hit and like there was serious considerations about like whether or not, because we just had like a big hiring thing and then all this stuff and like, oh man, people might not be buying PCs and stuff
like crazy then.
And well, thankfully, yeah, it was actually best period of growth the company's ever seen. But there was a huge concern of like, oh man, this is going to be another 2008. And like, I just cannot imagine the stress that my boss, and I'm talking about like top of the pyramid guy, he's got 60 people he has to worry about. It's not just him and his family and his life. It's the lives of every single person down that ladder. That one bad decision by him is ruining hundreds of people's lives.
Well, you're seeing that with YouTubers as well, right? These YouTubers who've got huge staffs now, and you're like, all of a sudden, if they change the algorithm or you misstep somehow, all of a sudden you're on the razor's edge the whole time.
It's scary.
And they have to protect themselves too, because the thing is, like, and because I asked the same question. Even Linus back in the day when I was talking to him about like running a business and stuff. Because
are you going to that Linus thing? Are you going to that?
I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be at LTX.
When is it?
I think it's in July.
August?
It's either July. I think it's July. I'm pretty sure it's July. But when you look at a business like that, it's like you have to make the decision. Do I either keep people employed up to the point where everybody loses? Yourself, you go under, you take everybody with you, or do you lay off half the team to give the other half of those people jobs and make sure that they can make it?
Yeah.
And make sure that you can continue to make it so that you could one day even hire them back potentially. And it's a hard place to be because it's like you have to make that decision. It's like, if I want to make the decision that's like, okay, everybody goes down with the ship and we all die together, solidarity, well, then nobody wins at all. Everybody loses. And now you're even competing with a harder job market because there's less jobs and more people looking for them. Or do you just have to say, roll the dice. I have to get rid of half the team. I have to downsize. I have to fire these people. They're going to lose their ability to pay their bills. They're going to go under, but it's to save the other half. And it's like, I can't imagine shouldering that. That's why I can't. That's why I haven't had a team. That's why I don't have paid employees, because I could not be the one to say, sorry, we're not doing good this month. You gotta go. You gotta go.
I'd only ever want to get big enough to handle to keep my current, whatever state of living or whatever. Right.
Yep. That's the way I feel now. I mean, I used to go in for, I used to be constantly trying to go in for stuff and even the acting stuff. Since Baz was born, I'm like, I
having kids
just rather be around
a lot.
Like, I'd rather be around. Maybe it's a bit harder with the money and stuff for sure. There's definitely been some lean times. There's always lean times with the acting stuff, but at the same time, I'd just rather be here.
Yeah.
I think there's a line, like you want to be here, but you also want them to see you working. You want them to see that there are things you have, there are trade-offs.
I keep encouraging the girls anytime they come up with something on the side to like try and make a buck. I'm
do it.
all in. I mean, if you want to, like years ago, even I was talking to him, like, if you guys want a bucket of chips and stuff and you want to go wander around the lake and sell candies and stuff to people, I will buy it. I will go to Costco. You pick out whatever you want. I'll pay for it, and just kick me back in 10% until you pay off to whatever.
Oh God, I'm always trying to get Baz to do that stuff. When he was a kid, he wanted to do very odd socks. He wanted to sell odd
do that
socks.
stuff anymore. Like when people call the cops when your kid's got a lemonade stand now.
That's again,
is that an outlier or is that
100% an outlier?
Where I live,
shit doesn't happen
all
that
the
often.
time. Happens all the time.
That seems. That's
I guess
because you got shitty people.
They are.
That's just
totally
butthead people trying to cause trouble for other people.
Yeah, 2 summers in a row now, kids got shut down.
And that is the risk, I would say, of this is why I say a bleeding heart capitalist. I feel or bleeding heart conservative. I feel like we want to be careful because I don't think the government is necessarily the best people to be deciding some of this stuff. I think you want society to decide those things, but somehow and then have that properly represented in government as opposed to just who's got the freaking money.
Yeah.
If it's Minute Maid shutting down the kids lemonade store because they're profiting.
Well, the argument that they made here, like when they were shutting the kids, we were going through the COVID thing and they were worried about, them spreading stuff and getting sick. But the other one was,
so don't go.
Well, if somebody drinks it and they get sick from it or something, are they going to sue the family or are they going to sue the kids? Like there's no responsible party because they're not, they don't have a license. They don't have insurance. All that crap.
I mean, that's an AI thing that I'm looking forward to is a bunch of freaking lawyers out of work because the amount of money and that they make for just causing freaking havoc is just, it drives me nuts.
Name another job, and you probably can, but I'll challenge you. Name another job where you get paid basically the same amount, whether you win or lose, no matter how shitty of a job or no matter how good of a job you do, you always get paid. Lawyers.
Plumber.
They are. Lawyers cannot lose. It's like you are literally pay me my retainer, pay me this much an hour, pay me this much for copying documents. They have a fee for everything, right? If you've ever dealt with a lawyer, it's like if they copy
AI
a
is going to
document, they charge you $5, right?
Oh yeah,
it will. But it's one of those things where, you just walk in. It's like, do I want to pay $2,500 for a lawyer, or do I just want to go to ChatGPT and say, you are now a professional lawyer that could get OJ off for murder? Here's my situation. Tell me how to proceed. It's like, here, I'm going to fill out these documents, save these folder. Okay, here's the packet. Submit this to the organization. There's a plugin for that. It's
these are just like legacy ancient systems that have been in place, and the money's just gone up and up and up. They're paying like crappy rates for interns to run around and do all the research when AI can now do that. And they're charging us $300-$400 for that stuff. Again, I don't want to, look, I know not all lawyers are like this, but I feel
there are some good lawyers out there, especially like the ones that start off as public defenders that take very little money. I've had some fantastic
ones.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with police too. It's like, I know some police officers that are amazing. They're like straight out of the police academy. They're go-getter. They actually get literally get off on solving crime. Like these are people that it's not about the money. They got into it because it's like a generational thing.
And a belief in the system and a belief in the judicial system.
But the problem is that gets crushed over time, and more often than not, they either leave the system because they can't change it, or they adapt to it, and then they become a part of the problem. But it's like, but in their beginning, when they're still, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, I'm sure the people that go to college to learn how to take care of people, they come out and then they, their first 5 patients die on the table. As a surgeon, it's probably pretty damn discouraging, right? But it's like shit happens. Like, this is life. You don't get to pick which cases come in. Like in school, it was like you knew what you were getting into because it was a part of the lesson. In real life, it's not so much. Like you could lose 100% of the people even if you do everything right. And so it's one of those situations where I think with lawyers and cops, it's the same way too, right? It's like depending on the case, depending on what you're doing. Like imagine being a lawyer and knowing in your heart that your client is guilty, knowing that they're guilty, but still having an absolute legal responsibility to protect them.
That's gotta be so hard.
That is the worst situation because they have to. Like people are like, I can't believe that attorney. Like it's obviously they're guilty. Why are they still defending them? They have to. They have a legal obligation that they signed with their client to give them the best possible defense they can and not do anything to hurt their position or hurt their case. So they're not responsible. They could literally get a confession. Like you could tell your lawyer, listen, I did it. I killed those people and I had fun doing it. And the best that lawyer can do is drop you as a client. They can't even divulge why, but that's all they can do is drop you.
I feel like they should drop them. I don't know how you, oh God,
But again, they can't say why they dropped them because of the client privilege or whatever, which means now the public could be like, oh, well, why did you drop him? Like he really needed you and you let him down. Like why? And you can't tell him. So
don't you think though that, oh God, I feel like there's something wrong with the system if you know that someone's done something. Like
I feel like if you know they're guilty, you should not be able to represent them. Like at that point, it's just an instant out. You can tell everybody everything. Like, okay, they literally told me they murdered.
But then no one's ever gonna. But I guess it's those little. Oh God! See, this is why we're not.
Nuance
so much money.
Because everybody has the right to a defense, right?
Exactly, and it just always. You may have. No one can trust their lawyer. You may have done something technically. I mean, because like, what is it like? It's better to. I don't know. My brain is all fuzzy, but it's like you'd rather have 1,000 people go free than have one innocent person like locked up, right? It's because like everybody deserves a defense because there is going to be those times where maybe you've technically done something illegal, but like for a good reason. Or
and their goal doesn't have to be to get you completely off. It's just to give you the best possible defense, right?
But you look at the system and you go like, when you've got people like George Floyd being killed because of a $20 bill, and there's people who are getting off $20 billion rip-off, scam systems that they get slapped on the, I mean, like I
charge more too. So it even makes it a little more crooked because it's like depending on how winnable the case is, an attorney will charge more.
Sure.
So like for instance, in the case where you see the high profile cases like OJ Simpson and stuff, that lawyer that's defending him is getting paid 10 times more than any of the other prosecutor lawyers are getting paid. Like they're getting that much money because they are knowingly and publicly defending somebody who most likely did it. And everybody knows it, but they're going to give it their best defense in exchange for just a grip shit of money. Like they're trading their reputation for that.
What about this then? Okay, so just sort of this might even put us on track for the AI stuff. And I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to run in a second. But what if we created a judicial system that was entirely run by AI? So you've got someone who's never going to give you away.
We're all dead.
You've got AI that can look at all yeah, exactly. Who can look at all the information, who can look at past stuff. Maybe it's at the end of the day, it gets looked at by a judge or a lawyer or a human lawyer at some point. But is there a way that we could like? I keep looking at ways that society can change because of this AI stuff in a positive way, obviously, and a negative way. But you don't think that's possible?
It's the
AI is biased right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's based off the what it's trained on, so it can't be purely objective.
But so,
but that's the point. Is it would be no less objective than we would be. Like,
I guess that's what I'm saying.
It'd make it a lot. I think it would make it a lot easier. Like, I think it would sort of equalize the representation. Everybody would basically have the same, level of care in a sense.
Right.
Everybody's using the same AI.
What if you only trained it off of data that both parties agreed on, and if they didn't agree on it, then there was no training in that space, and it had to draw its conclusions from the other spaces they did agree on?
It'd have to have the same.
Like, okay, is it wrong to kill a person? Okay, both people are like, yes, it is wrong. So the basic training of the AI is it is wrong to kill a person, but they might disagree on when it's right or when it's wrong to kill a person. So you don't train it on those aspects. You leave those aspects completely out, so it has to make that determination based on other things they did agree on. Because I think, like, if you kept feeding that in enough, it's like, okay, do you agree milk is better than this, or butter is better than margarine? Like, if you get them to agree on enough things, there might be enough foundation there for it to be able to draw the unbiased conclusions of the other things they couldn't come to agreement with. That's the one thing the AI would be good at doing that humans aren't.
And speed it up. Yeah, you have AI fighting AI in a courtroom that gets you to something that then humans can then work with that. Given the data, again, obviously there have to be checks and balances on.
Plus, you could run a case. Yeah, you could run thousands of years of case law.
That's it, of cases,
minutes, and you'd get a good result.
And as you say, it levels the playing field because you've got both sides have access to all that information. Whereas right now, the big lawyers and the big money have access to stuff that the little guys don't.
Yeah, that's where I think it would be a good application. Is it would balance the scales in that way. It's like, because not everybody can pay LexisNexis and then have an army of interns to scrub through thousands of different case law, and that sort of thing.
Well, and start with shit that isn't like, don't start with a freaking murder case. Don't start with a divorce case. Start with something simple that is a.
I can't recall the service. I'm sure Chattel will pop it in there. There is a company or a service.
NotPay.com.
Yeah, that's it. Where they'll get you out of parking tickets and weird HOA violations and things like that. And that's where it's starting. And with the GPT-4 thing and as things accelerate,
they're just like intelligent templates.
Yeah, it'll do that. And I think that's great, man. Like, I want to push back on medical bills and stuff, or like this was coded wrong, or why did you do this and that? Like, I didn't have an office visit. I only just did
starting a company or dissolving a company, or taxes. How about taxes? Right? Why? Again, you pay more money, you pay less taxes. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, you pay less. If you make less money, you should pay less taxes. It doesn't make any, like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, like, I think honestly a flat tax would solve a lot of the problems, but people have argued to the ends of the earth how that won't
Why
work.
not? Well, I don't understand.
It'd have to be sliding scale. It can't just be 20%, because it would disproportionately affect the poor people. Like, the math works out that, like, if it's a flat, like, say we instantly
it can't be completely flat. I agree with
a
that.
Consumption tax or whatever, like, or a national sales tax or something.
So you're saying that 1% of their money is like a low income family would be
hurts more than 1% of some ultra rich person.
But is it about fair, or is it just about equity?
So wait, are you saying that rich people
There's a difference. There's a difference between equality and equity. So that's why we have, like, or at least in part, if you don't make at least this much, you don't pay income tax because it would hurt more. And there's all kinds of studies.
It's up to like
there's studies up the woozah, man. You give poor people like stimulus checks, right? You give poor people money. It actually is better for the economy. For every, like food stamps is a perfect example. For every $1 of food stamps that are given to people who qualify, it actually generates like an extra 100 it's like an extra 50% on top of that as far as like the flow of money. Rich people don't move money. The whole point is to keep the value moving. Rich people hoard the money. So if you give rich people more money, they just sit on it.
That's
you give
right.
poor people money, they have to spend
it. Yep.
And that's what keeps the economy moving, is the spending and the flow of money from of value from one hand to another.
That's how the film industry works here, is where they've got huge government incentives to get people filming here. And what happens? They put in $1 billion, they get $3 billion out of it because you've got all of this ancillary stuff.
Right. And it's time and time again, you come in and put in one nice grocery store in a shitty neighborhood, and that will have ripple effects for the whole place, because now there's like jobs, there's healthy food, so people are able to continue to work and keep working, or they're smarter kids because they're eating better and can sleep well, and like it has these massive effects. But if you slap everybody with the same 20% tax, it's not going to affect the billionaire. Oh, what's $200 million to a billionaire? That's a drop in the bucket. But what's $200 to somebody who's only making $2,000 a month? Or I'm not the math type, but you know what I mean.
Like, even if we just paid people just paid the taxes that they owed now. I mean, the whole system of trying to screw over the government in taxes doesn't make any sense to me. Tell me how much I owe. Don't make me try to figure out how to cheat you without getting,
is complicated on purpose. And the reason the tax system is so complicated is because they have to find creative ways to hide tax loopholes for the rich. So what they do is they make the tax code so infinitely complex that the only easy way to solve it is to pay the most taxes.
AI.
But if you make a lot of
AI starts making this stuff
here.
There's a fantastic one. You were talking about do not pay. They have a I think it was them who had the service. They have an extension for so that when you go to a website and they give you that they inundate you with that ridiculous legal ease at the beginning that says, do you consent? And you're like, yeah, I consent, whatever. I'm going to go play with my AI art. They've got an AI plugin that analyzes the code and gives you a point form of what you've just agreed to.
How cool would that be?
Isn't that neat?
No. How cool would it be? Just like TurboTax. A lot of people that don't make a lot of money use TurboTax. I used it for many, many years of my life, where it's like you just punch in your shit from your W-4s or whatever, and it craps out and says, "Here's your money," right?
Yeah.
What if you had a GPT-4 version of that, where it's like you go in, but you get all the benefits of the rich people now, where it goes through the entire tax code. It goes and looks at every time you went to a store and bought gasoline, every single piece of food you bought, everything that's in the system for your credit cards, and itemizes like 10,000 items. And gives you like an extra $100 or extra $200-300 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
if
of course, Intuit's going to owe it.
That would move a lot more money into the hands of the people that spend it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's that the AI could really, really help that process along.
Absolutely. But I mean, talk about making things fair. It's access to information again, right? Yep. But again, this is when the internet first came out that we were all talking about this. Oh, finally, we're all going to have access to. And then what happens? It all ends up clotting into these giant corporations with tons of freaking money.
That's another thing, is no more fucking tax shelters. Like, just get rid of the whole shitload. Like, no more tax-free. You're a religion. You don't have to pay any money. No more. You're a special private school. You don't have to pay money. No more. You have some special like, oh, you created an account offshore to help like save the trees. You don't pay any taxes. No. You should just be like, you know what? No more tax loopholes, because everybody ends up using them to actually cost everybody else more money.
Yeah.
They all get used for the same shit. Like when you look at the churches, how many mega churches have you seen that are raking in hundreds of millions of dollars a year that they're putting satellites in orbit? Like TBN has like,
you're doing something wrong with
in orbit.
When the Roman Catholic Church has the most atrocious record of abusing people and children and stuff, and yet they own their own freaking country.
You know what?
They have their own country.
I just solved it, you guys. Just my brain right now went into AI mode, and I just solved it. All we have to do is make all churches, regardless, doesn't matter what the religion is, doesn't matter, flying spaghetti monster, whatever the fuck. You pay your taxes, and then we take all that billions and billions in tax revenue we get, and then we put that over into the mental health care and the health system. And and education. So now you have people that are growing up that are all guaranteed an education. They're all guaranteed to get health care, mental and otherwise. And all that has to happen is that all these millions of fucking churches just pay their taxes. That's it.
I think you're right. Churches, corporations. I mean, I just think people need to pay their taxes. It doesn't make any sense to me that we're fighting.
It's like if you give me $1, I have to pay taxes on it. But if you put $1 in a collection plate, you don't. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, and it never has. So, and arguably, these are the people that are raising the kids to be screwed up. They hate the other religions anyways. So they're the ones that are creating the fucking holy war.
For some reason, the Canadian government pays for Roman Catholic schools in our province.
That's weird.
Are you serious?
Is that bizarre? We pay taxes to have freaking kids go to Roman Catholic school.
That's very weird. That seems
bizarre.
like that should
and
be
why?
a huge
Because
conflict.
there's some kind of someone wheeled and dealed at some point.
Well, wait a second. You guys in Canada, you're under you're still under the king now. The king essentially, right? You're still under the king's law.
We separated, but literally like in the last 20 years or 30 years we separated.
Okay, so you're not under their whole religion
figurehead
system.
I think
thing.
Quebec still is like all hail the king or whatever, but I don't think there's any like power to it.
Okay,
I don't think there's any power to it. Yeah,
okay,
we still have the king on our freaking
well, that's why I thought I was on your money. I was like, oh, is that still a thing? Like, is that still a thing? But no, that's good that you don't. But the fact that you're paying tax dollars to subsidize a tax-free religion seems super counterproductive. Because now not only are you getting tax-free religion, they're double dipping, right? Because they don't have to pay taxes and they're getting free money from taxes. Because that's the one thing, you shouldn't benefit from tax. If you don't pay taxes, you shouldn't benefit from tax money, right? That's like, if you're a church, you shouldn't be able to build a giant palatial looking freaking church on a piece of land that you bought from the freaking government or whatever, tax free. You don't get to occupy that space when you don't pay anything into the system that allowed you to have that.
3 churches in mine. I could see 3 churches from my house.
They're everywhere here, dude. We got like 20 of them within 5 miles.
It's freaking nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what
Probably
I mean?
more than that.
There's more churches than homeless shelters. You know what I mean? Like
and that's another thing. If it's okay, fine. If we can't get taxes from them, then why not require them to use that land for public use? Not just be a church for their own benefit, but like when you are not doing church things, you need to be a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen or something. Yeah. If you're not using that property, then that turns into a rec center for kids, even if they're not of your religion, to use for whatever. Like you should have to volunteer that property. If they
always have that claim. The claim is always like, well, we welcome everybody. It's like, just by the fact that you've got a freaking Christian symbol on the church kind of excludes a few people. You know what I mean? Like
If I go into a Mormon church, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let me go into like the fancy areas and stuff and be like, oh, hey guys, I'm just here to check out your cool marble sculptures. Like, don't mind me. You're going to be like asked to leave the premises. However, there are some places I've gone where it's really welcoming. Like I have gone to a Christian church before that was like literally straight up like, we don't care if you're atheist, we don't care if you're a Satanist. Enjoy the meal, break bread, have fun. You know, and
I got no problem with the system. If you like, if you value that and you want to do, I'm not saying we should like, I don't want to like, like.
You can't ban something.
Religion.
If you ban it, it's just like banning guns or anything else. If you ban religion, it will become a bigger problem. I guarantee it. You don't ban relion. You just make them pay their fair share.
And I'm just that's it for me. It's just a fair share thing.
Just fair share. That's it. That's
why as an atheist are you paying more tax because you're an atheist than
I do. Technically, I pay quite a bit. Actually, I pay quite a bit more tax because if I was a religion
and I'm going to hell
because I did do the math on this, right? If I registered as a 503 nonprofit charity, and then I paid myself. So I paid myself from that a salary of like, say like, I think it has to be a reasonable salary or whatever, but for that specific job, it's like $32,000 a year or something like that. Every dollar that I made over $32,000 would not be taxed, and I could spend it for anything, even to benefit myself, because I would be the chief executive of that money, and it would be going towards my land, my property, my church. So which could be anything. I could buy a car and say that's my Pope Mobile. I could buy a boat and say that's my Pope Mobile. I could buy a jet and call it my Pope Mobile.
It wouldn't even have to be a nonprofit charity.
It could just be a religion.
Or it doesn't even have to go that far. Like a big part of the 99% of the tax code is to encourage you to start a business.
Yeah.
If my business is
or
not
make
profitable,
it a not-for-profit business, that's fine with me too.
Yeah, right? If my business is not profitable, I don't pay taxes. Like businesses don't pay income tax; they pay tax on the profit. So if my company does not make a profit, I don't pay taxes. But the company can buy me as the CEO all kinds of cool stuff. It's a perk. It's not even. This is why Zuckerberg and Bezos and stuff have $1 salaries, so that they don't have any income tax. And then what you do, same as any other high-end rich person, is you leverage your net worth, you borrow the money, you borrow. It's constant debt. You're constantly in debt, but it doesn't matter because it's business debt or it's backed by your business. And so if you personally can't ever really go bankrupt because you don't have any real money anyway. It's all under the company.
Yep.
Everything.
Like for instance, if I made $100 million, right, in my business, like, okay, so Barnacules Nerdgasm is $100 million business venture. and I say, okay, I'm going to form a 503c charity or a religion, and I take that $100 million and I put it in there, and I just say, I'm giving this to my religion, okay? And then they decide to go build buildings and do everything in the name of the religion or as a charity to like house people or feed them soup or whatever the shit it is that you use the loophole. I can put all that money into there and I can pay myself my $1, right? I can pay myself a $1. And I'm like, oh God, I got to pay income tax on my $1, but I still control all that money in the system. I can still buy houses. I can still buy buildings. I just wouldn't be occupying them as the chief resident. I would be occupying them as somebody who has access to the property as the business the charity executor. Or something, right? You'd basically still have full control. And that's what they do. The big churches, like if you ask them, I think it's like Kenneth Copeland has 9 Gulfstream jets worth about $200 million. These 9 jets that he has. He doesn't, and they're not shared. They're not rented out. These are jets that he just uses to travel when he wants, and he picks a different one depending on what he feels like, right? Because that opulence, every one of those jets is paid for completely tax-free. It's all registered without any tax money, and it's all for church use only. Yep. Even though he's the only one that uses it, and they can prove he's the only one that uses it from the flight logs, it's still church property, and he just claims that the church can use it. Like anybody could just go jump on it, but he can deny them and say, no, you can't because you don't have a good enough reason. Because he's still the person that controls access to it. And a great example of this is Elon Musk. Elon Musk donated $5 billion to charity. When everybody called him out years and years ago, they were like, dude, you keep saying you're going to solve world hunger and you're going to give money. He's like, enough's enough. He gives $5 billion, but he doesn't tell anybody what charity he gave it to. All the charities come forward and say, well, we didn't get $5 billion from him. We didn't get nothing from him. So we're like, who could it go? Well, 2 years later, it becomes public record. When the taxes leak, he gave that $5 billion to Elon Musk's own 503c charity that he created, and he heads the board with 2 other people, and that money never went to anything except for his political action.
See, this is the kind of scumbag stuff that
So for 2 years, people are like, he gave $5 billion to charity. It's like, no, he gave $5 billion. He transferred it from one account to another account, and then he controlled the distribution of it going to things
and the only reason they can do that, is because they're not paying their freaking taxes.
Exactly.
I can't give that money away because I had to pay it to the freaking government.
Yeah, like
they can give it away. They get to pick and choose where they send their money.
Like Ox was saying with the loans, right? If you have if you had $100 million and you had to pay taxes on it, what would that be? Like it'd probably be like you're paying like 40 million of it, right? Like it's gone. Half of it's gone. So, or what you can do is you can just leave it in the bank, not touch it, is to leave it in the company's bank account so that it just stays in there as the company's profits. Don't distribute it to anybody, and then just borrow from banks and say, hey, I got $150 billion of equity in this company. Give me a $150 billion loan. And now you don't pay any taxes because that loan is not income. It's a loan.
So I looked into it a little bit.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And then you pay the loan back.
I was wondering, like, at what point, like, is there a limit? Do you have to have a certain value in your like stock holdings before you can borrow against it? And technically, no. You can have any level. You can have $1,000 of value in your portfolio.
Yeah, I can borrow against my house. I can borrow against my car or anything.
Most banks and stuff aren't going to bother with it until you're into like the 10,000 plus range. But that's the way to go. Like get the first 100,000 into the stock market. Or invest it or start a business or whatever. The first 100K is the hardest part. After that, you can borrow against those holdings and it's no longer income. And heck, it doesn't even have to be dividend stuff, like, because that's income. It can just be, it's
I got to get my wife on this.
So you don't, so like, look, you don't ever pay taxes on the holding, right? You only ever pay taxes when you sell. So, but that doesn't matter. If you have, call it 100K worth of value, you can go to the bank and say, hey, I want a $10,000 loan backed by my holdings in my portfolio. And they'll give it to you. It's a line of credit. That is debt. That's not income. Then you can start buying other stuff with that.
There's no taxes paying that debt back. See, that's the difference. Like you buy a car, you have to pay sales tax on it, right? You have to pay income tax to get the money to buy the car with. But if you get a loan, there's no income tax. If you buy the car with your business using that loan, there's no sales tax. So you still get the car, you still get to drive the car, and you can even sell the car. The only time taxes ever leverage is if you take that money out of the business. It gets a little weird and
complicated, but like but then you can also start leveraging. Now you got to be careful, right? You don't want to overextend yourself, because now you still got to pay that loan back, but they're going to be very flexible on those terms, because it's just like the car note, right? Like people, it's easy enough for people to get a car note versus, a business loan, because the car note, they can just take the truck back or whatever. Same deal with the loan against your stocks. If you over leverage yourself or whatever, or you can only go up to, I think it's like something like 50% or something like that, because the bank still is going to want the risk as low as possible.
Yeah, they're not going to give you the full value.
So am I a total sucker because I'm paying down all of my debts all the time? Like I live debt free. I every time I get money, I pay off. I try to
carrying a debt is the best thing you can do for your credit
Yeah,
score,
man,
which is going to give you lower interest loans, which is going to give you cheaper money that you can borrow.
Yeah, man, they like it when you have. They don't like it when you keep paying off your credit cards every month or whatever. They don't like that. I mean, it's fine, whatever, because you're probably holding other debt anyway. Yeah. You're probably holding other debt anyway. The house, the car, the whatever, some other stuff. But
we've got the house. The house is really the only debt we have. Well,
like credit cards and stuff.
The house. No, I don't use them. We use them, but we pay them off.
It's crazy. Month. Yeah, and then because then you can take out more loans to pay off the original loan, or you use that loan to create. Again, you do this all through a business or something. You take the loan out to start a business. The business buys an apartment complex or whatever. And then that pays. That's as long as you're just making your minimum payments on these loans, they're not going to bug you about it. And even then, they're going to be really flexible. You can be super freaking late on stuff because it's all backed by your stock holdings. They know what you're worth because it's all backed by the business.
Does that work on retirement savings? Like that. Would that work on retirement savings?
Probably. You can borrow against your retirement savings.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it. They can borrow against their 401ks, and that way they don't get penalized for taking the money out of their 401k.
You get life insurance,
but but the bank knows that if you're forced to repay, like within a certain, you can access that 401k with a penalty, but the penalty is on you, not them.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll work out the math of what it's worth so that they know that they've got.
And they want to get their money, so they're going to be lenient in a lot of cases. Like if it comes down to you just filing bankruptcy and running versus them taking a slight loss, they usually will take the slight loss depending on the situation. But you got to negotiate.
But credit cards are a different thing because the interest rates is just ridiculous.
So there is a trick with credit cards though. What you do is you get a credit card that has a high reward for what you're using it for. So, like for instance, get 3 credit cards. Get one that gives you 5% cash back on purchases. One that gives you miles, right? Because that works out really good if you travel a lot. Because you'll get more miles than you ever will money on any other reward. And then you get a card for your shopping, get a card for your fuel. Because some of the fuel cards will do up to 10% back on your fuel. And what you do is you just carry a balance that's equal to that percentage that you're paying every month. So what you're making back, you're basically just giving back to the credit card company and saying, I'm going to give you back the 10% to carry that balance. And your credit score will just go boop, 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 all the way up and max out. And then once it does, you pay off everything, and you don't have to worry about it.
That's what my lady and I do. Everything that can be paid for with the credit card 100%. Is on the credit card for the miles and the rewards and stuff. Like my lady actually sat down and crunched the numbers. We first started it with Costco credit card because she found out that even at our current level of like purchasing at Costco, the reward back, the cash back would pay for at least half of the membership fee. Wow. But then it's like, well, we have a freezer and stuff now, so like we'll be going to Costco more. So it almost pays for itself, just the Costco credit card. Then we got so we only, and it's like 5% or something on the Costco purchases or whatever.
Costco
so
we
use this card only at Costco. Yep. Or and maybe for gas and things.
Get an Amazon card and use the Amazon card only on Amazon because then you get 5% on that for Amazon purchases.
Most of our
Amazon credit card.
Yeah, Amazon credit card gets 5% back. Yeah,
we got to start a course. We got to start a course on this.
How to get your 50 credit cards.
It's interesting because I mean you can go deep diving into credit card shenanigans too, but then we moved over to I think it was like a Capital One travel card. And put most everything onto that for the points. Now we have an Amex for their travel bonus.
Jane does the Amex all the time because she gets great deals off Amex. But there's my lady and the teenager went off to Eastern Washington to go check out the Wazoo over there, right? And I guess she booked it was just a one night stay at a hotel, and she booked it with the Amex card and they gave her a bottle of wine. Yeah.
It's a little. I mean, it's nothing. It's whatever.
Yeah, Jane gets shit all the time.
It's because we're like an Expedia VIP because of using the Amex card.
Jane's got one of those Amex cards that are made out of metal. It doesn't have a number on it.
Yeah, those are limit. I think they're limitless.
But man,
Amex,
I got mine canceled because I forgot to pay.
They're the best. It's expensive. It's $250 a year to keep that card, but the bonuses are outrageous. So cool, man.
It's a little less valuable in Canada because it says the word American on it. People don't like it.
Yeah, because I know Adam has the Amex Black, and he said that he could literally go and just buy like a $4 million car and charge it, and it would clear because there's no limit on it.
Yeah,
the card. Well, and you have to qualify like pretty high to.
Yeah,
to
that's a big one. Those black
you have to have
ones.
Like
my dad used to run his entire
something like that.
My dad used to run his entire office through a Visa cashback or travel points.
Oh man,
that's a good. Hundreds of thousands of dollars going through.
I have a business credit card through BECU for my business, and I think I get 3% back. Something like that, which isn't much, of course, but it's neat to see that line item that says like, "Oh, here's your kickback of $100 every quarter or whatever." It's cool, but yeah,
I'm so sorry. I got to wrap up.
No worries, man. Okay. You get out of here. Okay. You've always, dude. You got a revolving door policy here, so pitch your shit and get out of it.
I love it. No, it's not actually Jane. It's me. But I'm sure we'll be Jane later. I missed it. I've missed it. I love it. I wish it was more than once a week, to be honest. But yeah, it's good seeing you guys.
You've been busy. It's a good thing. Being busy is a good thing.
Busy's good. Yeah. I'd like to be. I keep coming back to that I want a cottage industry, not a global success. I just want
same. That's where I'm at.
Could you imagine just doing this? Like I mean, I dream of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyways,
I just want to build PCs all day.
Let's carry it over to the DM thread on Twitter. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, I love it.
Credit card stuff because this is useful for me too. So
yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
If you're looking for an easy entry into this sort of world and to start to deep dive into it, get a book called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" by Ramit Sethi or something like that.
Really? I will teach.
It's a good book. Yeah. It's really super basic. This is more for like personal finance in the beginning, but the advice and stuff applies
automatically. It ended the title. I said I will teach me to be rich.
I will teach you to be rich. And it's more for like, like I said, like an individual trying to get to a point where like, maybe you have like $1 million net worth or something.
Just little tips. I just like tips. I feel like all I do is
you'll start going down a really interesting rabbit hole of how to leverage it. It all comes back down to leveraging debt.
Yep. And a lot of people get the false impression. Like if you ever hear like even in chat, there was a guy here a little earlier who's like, no, credit bad, pay off all 100%. No.
You're revolving credit card debt? Sure, maybe.
No. But here's the thing. If you're trying to build credit, if you're trying to build your credit, do not pay off the entire balance on your credit cards. Do not.
Yeah.
Well, Jane's got the credit.
You won't hurt it, but you won't gain any credit. If you're trying to max out your credit to get a loan, you gotta carry some kind of balance.
Keep 30%. Don't go over 30% of your total available credit.
And use cards that the rewards you're getting pay that interest for you, so you break even while still building your credit. And then once you got an 800+ score, then just say fuck it and just pay off the full balance every month, and you're good. But to get there as fast as you can, that's going to give you lower interest loans and everything. So it's good to do. All right, take it easy.
Peace out.
Get out of your box,
Peace out.
Man. Peace, bro.
I don't know what that is, but I'll do an L for the love. Or losers. Losers. Bye.
Losers.
All right, talk soon, guys. Be well.
Right,
thank you, everyone.
brother.
Be well.
Cheers. Bye.
The be well. I remember that from Demolition Man.
Yep.
Look at that. I brought us into the center. Look at that. Oh yeah.
Revolve 30%, pay it off monthly though.
So the way
something like that.
The way that I built my credit when I was a kid, because my family had notorious bad credit growing up, so I had to learn from people's mistakes. But for me, what I did is I went to Les Schwab, that tire place.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
When I was a kid, that was my grandpa.
That's how my lady started.
Yep, my grandpa said, "Hey, they'll give a loan to anybody. They'll give a loan to fucking bum off the street for tires. They don't care. A couple $100, no big deal." Yeah. So you go, but it's a ridiculous interest rate. Like the interest rate's stupid. It's like 20% or whatever. Yeah, so whatever the highest is. So you go buy some tires for your car because you need them anyways, right? You just got your new vehicle, your 16 or whatever, your old beater jalopy. You need tires. So you just go and get a loan, and you pay it, and you pay off that loan over the course of like a year or two. And it's like $15 a month, maybe $20 a month. It's a very small loan. So over that period of time, it's a very little amount of money. So you pay it off, but once you're done paying off that loan, you will double your credit score immediately. And what you'll do is by doing that, now you go sign up for a credit card, like a Visa or MasterCard or whatever. And now where they would have denied you before because you had no credit history, now you have 2 years of paying. Now, to make sure you don't miss payments. If you miss payments on that loan, then you screw yourself right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, don't miss a payment.
Make damn sure that I mean, when I did it, I hand delivered a check to them every month. Like I didn't even mail it back then. Well, the internet now lets you do it digitally, but back then I would deliver them a check every month like clockwork. I'd have it on my calendar and I didn't miss a payment. As soon as I did that, I signed up for a Visa. They gave me a Visa. It was still a pretty high interest Visa, but then it only had like, I want to say like a $500 limit on it or something. But then I used that limit. I maxed out the credit card, buying the stuff that I needed. And I paid off, a good chunk of it every month, never allowing it to carry past, like if you carry a balance to where it's going up every month, bad. That's going to kill your credit. But as long as every day you're paying down the debt, both interest and principal, it will improve your credit score. So you just pay that card down, you do it again. You pay that card down, you do it again. Now, when you go to get a lease like when I was moving into an apartment, I went to get a lease. Well, now I'm approved for like the like lowest homeowners insurance rate because I have good credit, and they'll approve my application for renting the place. Whereas if you don't have a good credit history, they'll be like, sorry, you have insufficient or not good enough credit to rent here, and they'll just deny you outright, and you can't live there because they don't trust you to pay your debts. And so you start off with a small loan, and then you transition to a credit card. Then you get a lease on a house and then you get a car. Later on, you get a car, and you do that thing in that 4 order. You'll have an 800 credit score in like 5 years, and you'll be set. And then once you get there, then it's like banks will give you the lowest interest available on everything. You buy a car, you'll usually get 0% on loans for buying cars and stuff like that. And then you just maintain it and at that point you can pay off everything. Like you can pay off 100% of your credit card every month and just eat the rewards and use them. And it's not going to hurt your credit score because you've already built it up and it's just going to carry it at that point. But if your goal is to build, like if your goal is you want your credit score to go up month after month after month on Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, you got to carry a little bit, and you got to you got to pay off a certain amount every single month. Be very, very like religious with it. Don't fluctuate the value a whole bunch. Don't pay off like a huge percentage one month and then hardly any the next month. Keep it consistent. And if you do, man, your credit score will just fly. And then once you get there, it's like, because the difference, just to give you an idea, and this is another thing that really sucks for poor people, is you will end up paying more as a poor person than a rich person will pay for the same thing. It's always because again, there's the fear that you won't repay your debt. So you go to get a loan on a car. When I tried to get my first car, they wanted to charge me, I think it was 15% from to get the loan from the car dealership to buy the car. I went to the bank and they gave me the loan at 7%. So it was like half as much right out of the gate just by going to the bank and getting a loan for the car instead of financing it through the car's bank, right? Or through the dealership's bank. And most people don't look around. They're just like, oh, I want to buy the car. It's going to be how much a month or whatever. They do the math. Oh, it's only going to be $75 a month if you pay for 20 years. Yep. And people usually just say, yeah, because they don't understand how it works. And they don't realize that they're paying so much so much interest that they're not paying down the principal. And then they're like, oh, well, how much do I have left owed on the car after 2 years? And it's like, oh, most of it still. And you're like, how?
Yeah.
You've been paying the interest the whole time. So, so by you building a credit history before you do that, then you save the money, and now everything's going towards principal or a good amount of it, and you'll pay for it way, way faster.
Yeah, that's another trick too. So like, technically you earn credit, I don't know. You are building interest daily. Yeah. Your credit cards are charging you interest daily. So it actually makes sense to do 2 payments. You make one payment when it's due, and then another one a couple weeks later, because the second one's going to eat down the principal.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talk about that with house loans and stuff too. You take like the total amount of your loan and divide it by something, and it gives you an idea of it's a small little bit of extra. You make your normal payment, your normal monthly payment on your mortgage, and then you pay it's like $200 or whatever the
7
formula.
years off a 30-year loan. 7 years by paying an extra $100 a month.
Dave Ramsey. So people have mentioned Dave Ramsey a few times, and a lot of this other advice people have mentioned, like financial experts advise against using credit cards and advise only using debit. That's when you're already in trouble. If you're underwater or you have a lot of debt already, then use your debit cards and stuff, because that's just cash. But if you're in a stable position, use credit cards. You get so much more protection your purchase protections and things. There's extra warranties that come along with credit cards. If fraud's a big one. Holy fuck. If somebody gets a hold of your debit card and makes a bunch of weird purchases and shit, you are less likely to get any help from the bank for that than if it's a credit card. I'm already fighting, Amex is fighting with hotels.com for me because they double charged me like they charged me twice, or not charged me twice, but literally charged me once for a reservation and then again for a similar reservation, but I don't have emails for it or nothing. And I tried to work it out with hotels, can't do it because I don't have a full reservation number. And I'm like, well, you guys did this. I don't know. So I call up Amex and they're dealing with it. That right there alone. Now, of course, I am floating like $1,600 or something, while they figure it out, but I'll get all that back because it is 100% on it's 100% hotel's fault. They'll figure that shit out. And I'm going to get all that back. If that was a debit card, the bank could probably be like, sorry, fuck you.
Yeah, no. Using credit gives you a hell of a lot more leverage to get what you paid for.
Warranties. Like if you buy a thing and it breaks outside of whatever, look into the details of your credit card and stuff, but oftentimes you can call them up and say, hey, this thing broke. Best Buy is not going to let me return it. They'll credit you back or get you a new product. There's all kinds of really cool consumer protections that come along with credit cards. This was way better all around.
Wait, what the hell is that? Oh, never mind.
You want to give most debit cards now give you purchase protection. They'll kick you back the cash, sure, but it's usually a lot more difficult. I had somebody crack into my Uber account, took a drive from like LA to Cancun or something, like all the way to the tippy tip of the fucking Baja California, charging me like 90 something bucks. And I was like, bro, I'm not even in California. At this time I had not even been to Mexico
sign
before.
An affidavit and it's done.
But I've tried to fight it through the bank. They initially gave me the credit back while they figured things out. Come to find out, a couple months later, they decided against me. Didn't even tell me about it. But I've digging through my financials and stuff, and I see, well, what the fuck? They took it back. They eventually sided against me and took the money back for a false charge. Credit cards are a lot more willing to help out the consumer.
And they have a lot more leverage in the contract with the buyers the sellers. Like with whatever you're getting the service from, they usually reserve in the contract that if they screw the customer or they do anything not to furnish the service to the customer that they paid for, they have the right to basically withdraw the payment. And they basically sign an agreement saying that they're okay with that as a condition of them using their payment system. And in addition to them paying a certain percentage too of the purchase price to the creditor. So
the Dave Ramsey thing is really good for getting out of debt. Like if you are struggling with your debt, the whole snowball method and stuff.
Just so people are getting that confused in chat. If you are already in credit card debt and you've already gone down that road and screwed yourself, then what I'm saying, if you have the money to do it, it will help you still recover. But I'm talking about building credit from the start. Like when you're starting out of the gate, you need credit cards, you need loans, you need these things to prove to those credit agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, and what's the other one? Equifax, TransUnion, and
I don't know.
Fuck, the third big one.
Yeah,
I just said it earlier. But anyways, you got to prove to them that you actually can be responsible in repaying your debts. That's all it is. Your credit score is just a arbitrary number that gives confidence in how likely you are to repay your debts.
Yep,
that's it. That's all it's saying.
Yeah,
and
so
like
Dave Ramsey would have you think that you shouldn't have any debt at all, like zero, flat out, do not have debt. Like pay for your house flat out in cash. Like nobody is saving up $500,000 in cash to buy a house. That's impossible. I guarantee he's not even following a lot of his own advice. Like he has a business to run, and so like there's no way that the guy isn't leveraged out the freaking wazoo to manage a business, to make it work. And so again, it's Dave Ramsey's, because my lady actually went through got the big fucking binder and stuff, went through the whole thing, and it helped to get out of her debt. And she was very hesitant when I came to her after reading the I'll Teach You to Be Rich and stuff, and how to leverage debt and things like that, even on a very, very small scale. She was very hesitant because of what Yeah, this is not financial advice. I'm a poor people. Me too.
Yeah,
I'm not a financial expert in any way. I'm just telling you guys what has worked for me. And yeah. She was very hesitant because of what she had learned from taking that course about no debt, blah, 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 blah. But once I sat her down and was like, look, this is what we can do. And she's great with the numbers. She's halfway to being an accountant kind of thing. She's a good bookkeeper. Once she saw that, like, oh shit, like the points and stuff, like all these extra rewards and things, it totally makes sense. 500K for a house we're at. This was 2 or 3 years ago when I bought this house. And that was I'm under a little. It was a little over 500K, but you know what I'm saying.
Houses are good investments. They are good investments. Like there are market crashes, but as long as you can carry it and you're not in a situation where you're forced to sell and you can hold it, it's a safe bet. Like,
dude, in 6 months, my house went up like 200K, which freaks me out because that means my property taxes are higher.
Nope, like, that's the problem. Is your house goes up, so does the property taxes.
Yeah,
right
that's
now
what kills me.
$9,000 now I pay a year for property taxes. When I first bought the house, it was like $1,200. So
how much debt should you have at the minimum at all times? That they can't answer that question. That's
honestly,
that's
I don't think that
subjective.
there's a good number. I don't think there's a good number because again, remember your credit score isn't how much debt you're carrying; it's how responsible you are at paying it off, how consistent you are.
Yeah.
Like for instance, if you had a credit card and you max it out every month and you pay off 80% of it, if you pay off 80% every month, you know, going towards interest and principal, then that looks good. That looks like you're responsible. If you pay off 80% one month, then 10% the next month, then none the next month, and then 5%, the creditors are going to be like, your score is just going to fucking tank because it's going to be like, you're changing your financial state from month to month. You're not reliable.
Yeah.
That score is just basically telling the bank, how reliable is this person at making sure that they can repay their debts, like consistently. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like anything you do towards that goal is going to help you. Anything you do against it is going to hurt you. And it's not complicated. Where people screw up though is they get a credit card and the bank will give them too high of a limit. This is a common practice in the business. They're like, oh, you make how much do you make a month? You make $1,000. Oh, we're going to give you a $1,500 a month line of credit. It's like, you couldn't physically pay that off with the amount of money you have. And they don't want you to pay it off because the less that you can pay every month, the more goes towards interest and the less goes towards principal. So they end up making more money off of you over time. And then you struggle. And then when you max that out, they're like, oh, we can give you another credit card. And they're basically just getting you to rack up debt so that you're just basically perpetually paying them for the rest of your life to barely stay ahead. And that's what I mean by poor people pay more than rich people, because it's like pay more interest from the dollar you have. Every dollar you buy, you're paying more interest, and you're paying compound interest every month that you can't pay it back. Yeah. So so that interest just keeps compounding. Like on your house, like to give you an idea, my house is 200. I bought it for 248,000 on a 30-year loan. If I had paid out that whole 30-year loan, I would have paid almost 500,000 for my house when I was done. I would have paid more in interest than I would for the entire cost of the house, right? However, what I did is I overpaid by $100 a month. And I said, and I specifically, you have to tell them that because they're dumbasses and then they will try to work it to their advantage.
To principal.
Yeah, you have to say this $100 goes to principal. Get that in writing from your freaking bank. Otherwise, they'll just put it towards the interest. And it's like, okay, well, you just gave them $100 for almost nothing. So you pay because your interest you pay first on a loan. On a home loan, 100% of what you're paying is basically going towards the interest. And then as the interest gets paid down, then some of it goes towards principal. And then it's mostly principal at the end. So what you do is you pay that 100% up front going towards principal. And now you're paying the principal right from the outset. So every time that interest compounds, it's a little less, a little less, a little less. But over the course of like 30 years, I think I knocked off 7 years. 7 years paying of payments at $1,500 a month. 7 years. What does that even work out to? Like that's so if we did $1,500 a month, and that's with my extra $100. So $1,500 times 12 and times 7, I saved myself $126,000. So $126,000 I saved by just paying an extra $100 a month. Like that's crazy off the whole loan of my house. And so now I'll own it way sooner. And then if you have places where you can pay a little bit more towards principal, they'll knock it down. Like you come into some money or something like that, and your house is outpacing every other investment that you have as far as equity, then it does make sense to pay as much as you can towards the principal and knock the interest down, because that's all money you're going to get back on the backside when you sell it. But it doesn't work out that way for a lot of things like cars. It doesn't make sense to pay cash for a car unless you're buying a used like jalopy piece of shit and just trying to get a good deal on it or something. It doesn't make sense. It's like go get a zero. If you have good credit, you can get a 0% loan on a car. Now, instead of buying, because we just went through this in 2018, we were looking at used vehicles and we found, I think it was a Honda Odyssey van used, 120,000 miles on it, which for a Honda isn't shit. And it was like, I want to say they wanted like $10,000 or $12,000 for it. Well, a brand new 2018 Forester is like 24,000, right? So double that. So you're like, okay, well, if I buy the used car with 125,000 miles, that's going to be the better investment. Well, no, it's not. Because when you look at it, a used car loan carries a higher interest than a new car loan. Because the dealerships will give you a new car loan at 0%, whereas for a used car loan through your bank, they'll charge you like 3 to 5%, depending on your credit. So right there, you're already saving money on interest. The other thing is you get all the oil changes for life when you know, a lot of these places when you buy a car. So you factor in an oil change at 50, 60 bucks every 3 months or whatever, right? That's a lot of savings. Now, because it's a new car, you got the warranty for 5 years. So as long as you sell the car before 5 years is up, you sell it with some warranty, which also helps it retain its value, which is completely gone on the used car. But once you factor everything out, buying the used car ends up costing you a lot more after a single year. 1 year, you're already underwater versus buying the brand new spanking car with no miles on it. And I couldn't believe that. I'm like, I had to run the numbers twice. I was like, no, it makes sense to buy a new car. I came to buy a used car, but it makes more sense and it's cheaper overall to buy the used car. And the used car gets better gas mileage, so it burns a lot less gas because it's more modern technology, better emissions. Resale values of Subarus are actually pretty strong right now. So it's like there's a lot of reasons. So like, but you think about it.
I'd say probably like a 2-year-old, like probably like a two-year-old used rather than like brand new.
No, the newer it is, the better. Yeah, if it has warranty left on it, then you're in a better situation. But imagine like the situation that I had. If I bought that Honda Odyssey and the motor blew, like on week 3, I'm done. There's nothing I can do. A brand new car is under lemon law, so I can, if it blows the motor, I can be like, give me another one. Like I want to, or if it blows the motor, they have to fix it because it's in the powertrain warranty for however many miles or years. So you're a lot safer buying the new car in that situation if you can get the price negotiated right and you can get within the territory. Even though it costs like twice as much, once you factor in the interest, putting new tires on it, putting new brakes on it, having to get the oil changes, once you factor that all in, you can go, whoa, wait a second, it actually is cheaper when you break it down. And that's where a lot of people tend to go wrong is they'll try to save money up front, but not factored out over the life of the ownership of something. Like Tesla is a great example of this. What does a Tesla cost now? Like fucking, I think they just went down a lot in value.
Oh yeah,
like 60 grand or something, right?
But yeah, it's expensive.
So say 50 or 60 grand, right? I used to think, oh my God, like buying a Tesla is the worst investment you can. Well, it turns out as long as you sell them, like after 5 years, it's a great investment. If you try to hold it for its entire life, nope, you'll get screwed. You'll get screwed hard. And it's because they won't sell you a battery pack after the car's out of warranty. They don't consider the car safe anymore. They don't consider the car. They don't want to be associated with a car that's that fatigued over that period of time. So they just don't give you a battery and nobody rebuilds them. So you're screwed. It's a lawn dart or a lawn decoration at that point. So it's not, but if you only own it for like 5 years, okay, you go get a lease on it, right? On a $50,000 vehicle. And the first thing you notice, you don't buy gas. You're now going 300 miles, averaging like $1 a gallon efficiency.
Yeah.
So just when you factor that out, if you drive a lot, you instantly get your money back. It's like, it's basically free. You're getting a free car at like $50,000.
That was part of why we bought the Hyundai. Because after, we're again, my lady crunched the numbers, found out we're paying like $400 a month in gas for the fuel. Jeep that we have. A brand new Jeep, literally brand new. We'd only had it like a year and some change.
Yeah, but they're shaped like a brick, so they guzzle that fuel.
And so basically what we were paying in gas is now the car note for the Ioniq, but it barely made a drop in our electric usage having the thing plugged in. Cause like the at-home charger that we have, I think it's like 1.2 kilowatts. So it's like,
dude, our power is cheap. Our power here is like 12 or 13 cents a kilowatt hour.
At the most expensive, it's like 13 cents a kilowatt hour. Like peak it's so cheap. And that's why it worked out.
Yeah, so if you charge your car at home here, I think they said for a Tesla Model S, which is the big heavy one, the Model 3 is a lot lighter, I think. But the Model S, I think they said it works out to a little under $1 equivalent at our prices. So like $1 per gallon equivalent. So if a Tesla got 39 miles per gallon or whatever it was equivalency, that gallon of fuel in electricity, instead of paying $5 a gallon, you're paying under $1 a gallon. So every 30 some miles you're going, you're saving $4.
Even charging really at fast. The superchargers, like if we went to
the superchargers are only like double that,
it's still only like 48 cents a kilowatt hour or something.
No,
like
is it really?
I think that's the most expensive one I've seen, and I think because like part of the buying the car, they give us like 2 years at certain ones for free.
Oh, that's per kilowatt hour, and it's a 200 kilowatt pack. So that would be.
I've charged up I don't know, call it 3/4 of a tank. Let's call it that for less than $20.
See, that's crazy. Like that's way cheaper than to fill a tank.
We're a 20-gallon
supercharger.
Yeah, we're a 20-gallon gas tank. It cost me $75 or something. It would be outrageous. So it all works out.
When the Tesla first came out, when the Tesla Model S first came out, it was, I want to say it was like $90,000 for like the fully loaded Model S Premium P75 or 80, no, P85D, I think was the first one. And so you pay $90,000 on that car and you're like, holy shit, that's a really expensive car. Well, when you bought that car, you got supercharging for life for free.
Yep.
So you got like, so actually it was cheaper to go to the supercharger and charge your car than it was at home because it was literally free, fast and free. So if you traveled a lot, if you were a person that drove hundreds of miles a week or whatever, and you went and bought one of those things, it was basically free. It was just a free luxury car because like in our case, I ran the numbers back in the day and we should have gotten a Tesla. We didn't, but we should have. And the only reason we didn't is because the electrical system in my house would have needed to be upgraded to be able to charge it rapidly for what I wanted. But just to give you an idea, we drove a Lexus RX 300, an old used one that we bought. Because my wife was having to drive my son around all of his therapy appointments and everything every day she was driving, I think it was in excess of 60 or 80 miles. We were spending $750 a month on fuel. And this is back when fuel was like $3.50 a gallon, $750 a month on fuel. I was looking at the Tesla and it's like for the brand new Tesla, like fully loaded with, I don't remember if it was the lease or buy it, but I want to say it was like $500 a month or something like that. We would have saved $250 a month because at the time the supercharging would have been free. And if we charged it at our house to fill the entire 200 kilowatt battery pack, or I think at the time it was like 150 kilowatt, but to fill the whole 150 kilowatt battery pack or something was only $8 or $9 total and electricity cost. So we would have netted easily $150 to $200 a month back after paying for that brand new car. If we had to just take it, not even trading it in, just taking the Lexus and just parking it on the side of the road somewhere and just leaving it and going and getting the Tesla, we would have got money back. And we didn't. And I kicked myself for not making that decision back then. But even today, it's like if you go buy a Tesla today or any electric car, not just Tesla, as a matter of fact, it makes even more sense to get something like a Hyundai now because they have the 800 volt systems that are much more efficient, the longer range, better charging capabilities, less heat, less wear on the batteries. They're just better vehicles. Like Tesla is still using their same arcane electrical system that they've always used. They have changed the batteries a little bit, but by and large, 400 volt is old ass technology, right? So the new 800 volt systems, like you have in your Ioniq, right? In the Hyundai, I think it's an 800 volt system. Because you have a DC and AC, right? Like the plug for plugging, you can do AC and DC fast charging.
The faster ones are DC. So the at-home one is AC.
Yep. So the DC ones are like, so the plug has like the round one, and then it's got like the little,
and then it's got the two extras at the bottom.
Yep. So you got that's the most modern charging technology there is.
Nice.
So you plug that thing in, it charges twice as fast. It doesn't generate a bunch of heat. You don't need to have a cable that has liquid cooling and shit in it and stuff like you do with the superchargers. And it's just it's an all around better system, right? So it's probably going to retain its value over time. And the battery, because it's from such a huge company that manufactures these things, you're going to be able to get replacement batteries and shit. And you're not going to have to deal with one company to be able to get shit down the road. It's made by an actual mainline manufacturer that has OEM off the shelf parts that you can buy to repair your shit. You don't have to hope that they support it. They will. And so I think it's a safer bet. But if you buy that car, even at $50,000, you never have to get an oil change. So every 3 months under regular driving, you are saving an oil change on a new car nowadays can be from the dealership upward of $80-$90. It's $50 at Jiffy Lube, for crying out loud. It used to be like $20. Now it's like $50 at Jiffy Lube.
It's insane.
So every 3 months, you're now, because it's an electric car, guess what else you're not going through? Brake pads. Because you're actually every time you put on the brakes, you are getting energy back. Whereas in a gas car, every time you put on the brakes, you're burning up your brakes and you're losing energy in the form of heat. So in an electric car, you're not eating up those pads. Most people don't ever replace the brake pads on their electric cars. In the entire life of owning them, they still have the original brake pads on them. That's how little they actually get used. And so now you're not having to do brake pads and rotors every year and a half, 2 years, which can cost you, $800, $600, $800. You're not having to do the engine maintenance at 30, 60, and 90 and having to do like the timing belts and everything, which all that shit, when you factor up all the maintenance on a regular car, the only thing you're paying for consumables is tires. That's it. And so you factor that all out. It's like you can buy a car that's 3 times as much as the gas equivalent and you will still save money. Even though it looks like it's more upfront and you're like, holy shit, like my bill on my car is only, I was only paying $250 a month. Now I got to pay $500. Yeah, but you're not buying gas. You're not doing oil changes. You're not replacing brakes. You can charge it at home. So you're not wasting time sitting at a gas station. Like once you factor in all that shit, it's like, it looks like a bigger number up front, but it's really not. Like at the end of the day, if you look at the amount of money that's gone out of your bank account, it ends up being less. But people don't think about that. And that's why they don't end up doing it. And they're like, oh no, I'm going to stick with what I got. It's cheaper to get a Honda, a little Honda Civic or a little Banger. No, it's like everybody that goes and buys an electric car, they all get surprised by that because they're like, wow, I thought it was going to cost, about the same. And it's like, no, they're way more money.
Some of it's the initial, because you are buying like a new car, like, and that shit's expensive. But
you make
but
it back
as far
on everything
as
else.
the lifetime cost, right? Yeah, it works out pretty well.
But honestly, it's not even lifetime if you think about it. It's like within the first year. Think about it. If you buy a car in its first year, just 1 year of a brand new car, let's say you buy it for half as much as a Tesla, just the gasoline alone, like you were saying, you're spending what, $450 a month on fuel?
Something like that, yeah.
It's like
it's close to that.
You work that out, okay? So just $500, right? What's that? $6,000 or something like that a year. $6,000 in fuel. That you're just fuel, and and then you need what, 3 oil changes. Let's say those are at the dealership $80 a piece or $50 a piece or whatever. So now you got another $150 on top of that. So let's say, and then that's probably about it, right? Unless you're going through brake pads and shit like that,
right?
But let's say you do that, $6,000. That's another $6,000 that you could spend on the electric car.
Yep.
Like, and still have break even and be the same amount of money.
Again, the electricity is nothing. I think it may be $20 a month difference in our electric bill. Maybe
our electricity is so cheap here that all my hot tub, we got a hot tub with 220, 2.5 horsepower motors, the 8,000 BTU heater that can raise it like a degree every 10 minutes when it's going. And I want to say that using it every day, opening up and using it every day for like an hour in the cold of winter and sealing it up and keeping it hot 24/7, I think our electric bill went up by like $18.
Yeah. It's so cheap.
It's electricity.
I just think about it like
cost a lot.
All of the computers that I have pull more power than the car does when it's charging.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh shit, I better put my computer to sleep.
Yeah, and most people, like if you think about it, most people only drive like 30 or 40 miles a day. Like if they're just driving to work and like the grocery store, it's like 30, 40 miles a day. You can charge 34 miles a day off of your 110 outlet.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't have to fully charge the thing to the top. If you want to go on a long trip, then drive to the supercharger and top it off.
And so the trip that my lady went to Pullman for the Wazoo thing, we were sweating it a bit because there's like 3 good chargers from Ellensburg to the side of the state. So it's like, oh shit, but hey, she was able to make it all the way from Ellensburg to Pullman and still had another like 25 miles apparently of
range anxiety isn't that big of a deal as I understand
really
it
not
these days.
Not as bad.
And even if you do get stuck on the side of the road, it's like I think, what is it? What do we pay? I think it's like $90 a year for a AAA membership for me and my wife and all of our cars. And that includes 2 tows anywhere you want for free. What's that?
Oh, nice. I was going to say, what are they going to do? Bring a little generator out and let you charge your car?
They load you on a flatbed trailer, drive you where you want. They'll take you right to a supercharger and drop you off so that you can just plug it in and start charging it.
Nice.
And or if you really have severe range anxiety and you're legitimately afraid of the worst case scenario, you get trapped somewhere, you have to run the heater and you can't get out for 3 days, like shit that in a regular car you're going to die, right? Yeah. It's like you're not going to die because you have an electric car with a giant ass battery pack that could run that heater in the car for like a month. Like not only that, you're not using any electricity except for the heater. You're not wasting all that energy to the environment. And you could even bring a little Honda 1,000 watt or 1,500 watt little generator. It's about this big that holds like a half a gallon of fuel. Plug it into the thing and fire it up and let it run its little 1 gallon of fuel. And that's going to give you enough power to get to the charger, even if you're stuck in traffic, because you burn roughly the same amount of electricity in stop and go traffic as you do on the freeway. Gas cars, that's not the case. Gas has city and highway rated. Electric cars don't, because you're only using electricity when you are powering the car forward. Yep. And whatever you lose in start and stop driving is going back into the battery as regenerative braking. So when you're start, stop, you're like, put more motor in to get going or more energy in to go going, but then you recoup that on the braking. So you end
That's what I
up
was
getting
telling her.
about the same efficiency over 100 miles in traffic as you do 100 miles just flat out.
Yeah.
So
Because when
yeah,
climbing the mountain to get to Ellensburg, she missed the initial estimate by like 40 miles or something like that. Because like, okay, it's 115 miles from here to Ellensburg or whatever, and she ended up using more juice than the mileage should have accounted for. But I was like, well, it's because you're climbing a mountain and stuff, so that's you're going to use more juice to drag this heavy ass car up there.
Yep.
I said, but just coast as much as you can, or ride the brakes a little bit on the way back down, and you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, like when we had our Chevy Volt, we recouped 2 miles of range going down. We have a big, huge road out here. You probably don't know where it is, Novelty Hill Road or whatever it is. It's this really steep road that's about a mile long, but I mean, it's super steep. It's like they have signs like "Don't go down this if you're a truck" because they roll over all the time. All we did was push the little button on the stock that would put it into regenerative braking mode, where it just basically do engine braking as you're going down the hill. And we'd turn that on. By the time we got to the bottom of the hill, we had 2 more miles back in the tank of range going down a 1 mile hill. So it was kind of cool because like every time you went down that hill, now coming up the hill, you'd lose the 2 miles, but it's like on the way back, going back down it, you'd recoup it. And so it all ends up flattening out in the end. Like it all works out. If you go someplace and you come back, if you're going up or downhill or whatever, it all ends up working out about the same. When you get back. And the funny thing is like normal car stop and go, you burn more gas, whereas an electric car, you burn less because you don't have all the air resistance. You're still burning the same amount of electricity, start, stop. You're, using it, regenning it, well, not using up any of your brake pads. But by the time you get to your destination, you're like, I also wasn't doing 60 miles an hour and contending with all that wind resistance. So you were trading time for the friction of the air on your car. So you almost end up more efficient in stop and go traffic, which is kind of weird too. So then you don't worry about people get range anxiety in cars because they're like, you hit heavy traffic. It's like you're burning gas, right? You're like, you run out of gas sitting in traffic.
They're just sitting there.
Electric car, you're not going to have that problem. Even if you're sitting in stop and go traffic, it's like, it's still the same mileage. It's still the same amount of energy to get you there. Basically, it's a little different, but
because the radio and all that stuff is still using, but hardly a drip.
But it's so little. It's so little. Like I watched this video where this guy was testing the new and the old Tesla because I guess the old one had a resistive heater in it, like to heat it in the winter, right? He was trying to figure out which car was better for sub-zero. Because this dude's like up in Alaska, right? So he's like, which Tesla? He got 2 of them. He got a Model 3 that was the previous year, and then the new one. And the only difference between the two was one had a resistive heater, and the new one had a heat pump. And we were talking, I think, a couple episodes ago about heat pumps and how efficient they are. And so he tests both cars to see how much mileage does it take away by just sitting there and running that heater to stay warm when it's like 40-degree wind chill, right? -40. And so he got both cars up to temperature, and it turned out that the heat pump car did. Oh, what was that?
Sorry, I opened my phone and there was like a TikTok.
Oh, no worries. So the heat pump was more efficient than the resistive heater, which he wasn't expecting. He thought the resistive heater would be better. But even both of them running full tilt 100% inside of the car, the mileage only went down by, I think it was like 3 or 4 miles over like the 5 hours or 6 hours they were out there running. So that's how little power even the heater was using in sub-zero temperatures to heat the inside of the car to like 70 degrees. So, and plus they have heated seats, right? So it's like you're using even less heat to stay warm with the heated seat because you're applying the heat directly to you instead of heating the air. So it ends up becoming way, way more efficient. And so there's really nothing you can do inside of the car, playing the tunes, playing video games, running the screen, doing the fire graphic, running the sound system. You crank all that shit on, and because the battery pack is just so ungodly big to move that 8,000 pounds around, it just doesn't really do much. It doesn't change the mileage all that much at all. So that's why they were saying, like, if you get stuck in traffic, and you have to crank the heater, if you got 50% left in your battery when that happens, dude, like everybody's going to be coming over to your car, freezing their ass off in their gas cars and their diesel vehicles. They're going to run out long before you do. And so just because you're using so little, you're just sipping that power. And then again, it's like 1,500 watt little generator. Those things are tiny. You've seen those little itty bitty one handle generators. Yeah, you can buy one at Harbor Freight. I want to say it's like $80 or $90 for a 1,500 watt little itty bitty. And they're quiet too. They're really quiet.
Nice.
And they only hold like, I think a quarter gallon, half a gallon of fuel or so. It's not a lot. And it goes for like 8 hours on like a quarter gallon or an eight.
There's a company called Edison. It's like a spoof on the Tesla thing, right? They're into semis. They're building these chonky semis, and they're technically
isn't that the company
fully,
that got scammed? There was a scam, or is that a different company?
There's probably a different company because these guys are legit.
These are legit.
It's an electric semi, but it carries its own diesel generator with it to power the electricals. And he goes, look, this makes, and people are like, well, that's dumb. Why would you do that? Why not just get a diesel fucking truck? Like, what the fuck? No, diesel generators, wicked efficient because they run at a constant peak efficiency.
That's why they use them in trains, right? Diesel electric trains, same deal.
Yeah. And that's basically the concept. Yeah, just applied to a semi truck. And he's like, it's way, way, way more efficient to carry the generator to power all the electric stuff than it is to
carry a battery
pure diesel. Yeah, or the batteries. Yeah, the same deal. Or just pure battery. It's more efficient because the diesel generator constantly is at its peak efficiency, hardly using any fuel, or it's peak efficiency of fuel, and then that gets turned into electricity to power the motors and everything else.
Well, that's how the Chevy Volt worked.
That's fucking genius. That's brilliant.
I hated the car because it was just a jalopy. It wasn't the technology's fault. It was just Chevy sucks.
Yeah.
But the one cool thing about the Volt is the Volt wasn't a hybrid. Like Toyota has a hybrid where it's like electric and the engine work together to drive the car, right? And the Volt, there's no physical connection between the engine and the wheels. It's just electric motor driving the wheels.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is when you start up that little engine is you're just adding that much more energy through the generator going into the battery pack and into the drivetrain. So that's why the car can only go, I think the car could do 90 or 100 miles an hour with just the battery. But then when you kicked on the motor full force plus the battery, you could do like 120. And so basically it was like a diesel electric train. I mean, gasoline, obviously, but it just ran this little motor. And that little motor would produce the power that would either go straight to the tires as you're driving, or when you're idling or sitting in traffic, it was going into the battery. And then what would happen is once it got to its peak efficiency where it had enough charge in the battery to run the vehicle and you didn't need any more power than what the battery supplied, it would just shut the engine off. And it would just casually turn it on. And you'd just be driving along and be like, it was kind of annoying how bad it droned, but and then it'd be like, then you're silent. You're just driving. And you're on battery.
Oh yeah.
And then like 20 miles later, you'll start going up a hill. And then you feel the power coming to the drivetrain. It was a little annoying how they balanced it all. You could tell it was like kind of in the early stages of this, but it worked. It was for all intensive, like a little diesel electric train drive in a car. But by doing that, you don't have a transmission that can blow. You're not having to deal with like extra weight from a not a flywheel. What am I thinking of? A torque converter and all that shit to try to mix the power into the drivetrain. You're just like, here's a generator, and here's the electrical wires going out of the generator into the battery, and then from the battery to the motors, and that's your whole system. You're done. No gears, no having to deal with any of that shit. And it was pretty damn cool. I like the technology. I just didn't like the build quality. Hey, I want to thank some of the people that have been supporting today. You guys are freaking awesome. Robert Settles, thank you for that $20 earlier. You're an absolute legend. I'm sorry I didn't have the screen working by then. I just figured out that it didn't connect to YouTube, so now I connected to YouTube and it's working now. That's why you guys are up there. So now any of the super chats in the future will show up here on the board. Texas Time Lapse, thank you for the $10. He said, got sick last week and binge watched Atlantis for the 4th time. Greatest show ever, by the way. Not just saying that because David's our co-host. He said, tell David I'm a bit jealous he got to kiss Jewel State. I think it's fair to say we're all a little bit jealous. Yeah. Said love you guys. We appreciate it, Texas. Yeah, I think anybody'd be a little bit jealous. Jewel's a pretty awesome lady. Mr. E, love the name, by the way. Thank you for the $5.50 Canadian, approximately 1/3 of a gallon of gas. No, I'm just kidding. There's no electoral college in Canada, so Toronto and Montreal decide who our PMs will be every election. Prime Minister, right? That's what you guys call your president. Blue Varo, thank you for the $20. That is hugely generous of you and being a channel member. He said in 2016, my credit score was in the low 500s. I now have a credit score at 750. That is a good, respectable credit score. I have several credit cards with low credit limits for the longest time. I just got my Citibank card with a 14K limit, car, and signing for a house. Dude, that's awesome. And just to give you an idea, like me, I haven't made a six-figure income in 5 years. Like I've been way south. I'm not even half of a six-figure income anymore. And I still retain my 840 credit score and everything because I've just made sure things still get paid.
Nice.
From my savings and stuff from Microsoft and everything. It's like they don't care. They're not looking at you. Oh my God, he doesn't have money. All they're looking at is your shit getting paid? Like if we give you credit, are you paying it back? As soon as you stop doing that, your credit score will start going down into the dirt. And the thing that sucks is your credit score goes down because you can't afford to pay off your debt, but then everything gets expensive because your credit score goes up. So it's like, it's a whammy, dude. It's like, you can't win. It's like, once you start falling off that cliff, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's like, you can't afford to buy a nice house, so you have to buy a manufactured home. Manufactured homes are the one home that goes down in value. Like, you buy it, it doesn't matter. It will go down in value. Like, there's no way. I've never seen a manufactured home sell for more than what it was bought for. And so here you go. You don't have enough money to buy a real house, so you buy a manufactured home. You end up paying the same price as a normal person would pay for a house because of the increase in interest that you have to pay because of your bad credit, and you end up in a worse situation. So it's like the spiraling out of control thing, and I think it's stupid that we're set up that way. I think that's something we should probably work on in the future, is having more outs for people where if they fall off a cliff, they have a way back. So they're not just perpetually stuck forever, because I think that's where most people just give up. Yeah. Like, I certainly would. Like, if there was no way out, like if I ran all the numbers and I'm like, there is no possible way short of me winning the lottery for me to get out from under this mountain of debt, no matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, I would just be like, what do you do? Right? I'm just going to sit in the corner and rot. Like, what are you going to do? And that would suck. And so we got to work on that. I love Scotch. He tipped twice, $2 the first time. He said, only have EVs now. Last ICE car I paid for was $45K in gas. Oh my God, dude. You must just drive
like in a year
everywhere.
It must be like in a year.
That had to be a year, but that's still got to be a lot.
But that's still a lot. Because like even my gas was only 6K.
Dude, that's $3,700 a month.
That couldn't even be that. That couldn't even be 1 year.
Were you driving
that's
like
probably
two
over the
semis
life
or
of
three
the,
semis?
That's
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's over the life of the car. That's what it is. Okay, that's over the life of the car. But still, if you think about that, dude, $45,000 is a car. What he paid in gas in the car is the cost of an electric car. Like, what did you pay for your Ioniq? What, 40 something?
Something like that, maybe upper 40s.
Upper 40s? That sounds about right.
Maybe,
dude, I bet you there's so much more than that now.
I don't know. Let's see.
Dude, car prices got really ganked. I kind of feel bad I didn't sell my Subaru when I had the chance, though. I love, don't get me wrong, I love my Subaru. I love it to death. I wish I could drive it more. It's not a comfortable car for me to drive with my back jacked up the way it is.
Yeah.
But there was a time where I could have sold that car for just shy of $30,000, which blew my mind.
I got the SEL, not the super fancy limited one, the SEL, the one touch down from the bestest one. And it says this is just the whatever Google's telling me, it's 47,450. So yeah, probably about what I paid. Probably a little more than that,
probably
honestly,
out the door like 50 something.
Actually,
like
probably
50s.
less than that because they took the Jeep.
Oh, with the trade-in, that would have definitely been lower. So, you said that wasn't a really old Jeep, right?
It was maybe 2 years.
Oh, so you easily got 5 figures back on that in trade-in. Like,
I'm sure. I feel confident it took nearly half the cost away.
That makes sense.
That
makes sense. Jeeps are expensive, dude.
It was I liked it. I gotta say, the spaceship's pretty rad, but the Jeep has better cargo space.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the end, you do have to put the battery somewhere. You are carrying your full fuel capacity with you all the time, right?
The entire floorboard is, or most of the entire floorboard. It looks like 2 batteries, kind of like banks.
Yep.
Yeah.
James wanted to know if I still had it. Yep, I still have this TI, man. She's still sitting out there. I'm gonna have to start getting rid of stuff though, because I had a tragedy happen the other day. That's why I didn't stream yesterday. I was just getting ready to go live at 3 p.m. Go down to get some Simple Green out of the garage to clean out the radiator and my AC, and my hot water tank blew up. So it's just pouring water all over the ground in my garage, soaking everything. So now I got to go figure out how to clear out my garage, dry everything out. Luckily, it doesn't look like it got any drywall or anything because the concrete comes up on the edges, which is good. And it's a sloped floor, so it looks like it ran out. But yeah, something breached in the tank, and it was pouring out of the seams on the sheet metal. So I think it's a weld that failed somewhere on the tank. But the tank is 22 years old. So of course we called a plumber. I made it 22 years. I had to fix it twice, but it was like I had to fix one leak before, but it was just the spigot thing. Just had to tighten it down like a gorilla. And then the second time I had to replace a thermistor that would turn on the pilot light to keep it going. So that's the only thing, like $5 in parts, and I fixed it but I got 22 years, so I can't be too mad. But when I drained it, when I poured the water out of it, the rest of it, like I put a hose on it and drained it the rest of the way out in the driveway, the water that was coming out was pure black, like it looked like coffee. So
Which,
the inside
it's all from the
fully,
nasty bottom. The 3-4 inches of that is just rust and gunk and
all
stuff.
rust, man. So I'm not going to trust the tank anymore, even if I can fix it or whatever. I'm not going to trust it. So we called a plumber, and of course it's Easter weekend. This happens.
Yeah.
So a plumber's like, oh yeah, it's going to cost $2,300 to replace the tank with like our cheap ass, $500 off the shelf tank that we use. And I was like, nah, we'll live with cold water for now. I managed to get it to where we could use the cold water by taking the hot water tank out of the circuit. But we just don't have any hot water, right? So that kind of sucks. But Tuesday, Graham's buddy might come try to help us out. And if he can't, then my neighbor, he said Houston sell hot water heaters, so he's going to help me swap it out. Worst case scenario.
Use the hot tub. Use the hot tub. It's a bath.
Oh, we have. I went out there yesterday, but here's the thing: is because you get the chemicals on you have to rinse them off. So then you got to go in the house and give yourself a sponge bath to get the chlorine and stuff off you, or the bromine or whatever it is.
Good point.
So it's not good for washing. But our water is ice cold right now. I don't know what it is with the groundwater, but it is so cold. It I had a migraine all last night after just rinsing my head getting out of the hot tub. It sucks so bad. So I really want to get a hot water heater, but I have to figure out which one I'm going to get. Am I going to do a tankless? But to do a tankless, the plumber was like $5,000. I was like, no, I'm not doing $5,000.
That's insane.
For a fucking tankless water heater. I looked on Home Depot. They started like $600. It's like, eat my ass,
dude. It was like maybe $1,200 upgrade for the house to get the tankless or not.
That's so fucking
that's
stupid
outrageous.
that they quoted me that. I was like, oh,
you got gas?
Yeah. So
That's outrageous. Dude, you could probably install it yourself. It's almost a plug-in replacement for you got all the tubes and shit for your hot water. That's outrageous. Yeah, $5,000. Fuck that guy.
That. And then
you could probably do it yourself.
Just for a regular tank, just for a drop-in replacement tank, it was going to be $2,300.
Get out.
And I looked at Home Depot, and they start at like $250, $300, all the way up to maybe $800 for like a super high efficiency one.
The only reason they would probably make you have like a certified person is because of the gas. Because you do that shit yourself, you can blow up your house. But
that's the part I'm afraid of is the gas.
That's dumb.
That up. But I gotta hire a guy
turn
to
the gas off. I feel like.
I mean, you just put soapy water on it and Teflon tape, and if it leaks, then you check it. Right?
I feel like with an ounce of caution, you're totally fine.
So tankless gas heaters. I'm on Home Depot, which is retail, right? This isn't even like the plumber gets it cheaper than this because he's going to a plumber supply place that's giving him a deal, right? So looking through here for the cheapest tankless heater they sell. Let's see down here at the bottom. So right here, top rate, and it's a top rated also at the same time. $681 for a 6.5 gallon per minute, which would be fine because I think a shower is only 2.8 or 3 gallons a minute. So you could run 2 showers off of that and have hot water, and $681 for that. Now, if I want to go up down, that's for a normal, like the Rennie, whatever brand it is, normal efficiency. But if I wanted to go with a high efficiency setup, from the same manufacturer, $1,000 for a high efficiency that can do 8.5 gallons per minute, 180,000 BTU interior propane gas tankless water heater. And then you just scroll up and I think the most expensive one on the site, like if I wanted to just go balls out and be like, I got the most expensive efficient water heater known to man, the most expensive one they have is $2,019. And it's a super high efficiency, 11 gallon per minute, 199,000 BTU tankless water heater with a platinum rating for retaining heat. So this is like something you'd put in a house that's like 5,000 or 6,000 square feet with like 5 bedrooms and like 4 showers. And that's $2,000. So he was so I was like, dude, so you're gonna charge me $1,700 in labor for something that's gonna take you maybe an hour to do.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Maybe 2 hours if you suck.
And because the thing it can't weigh next to nothing. It's just a little box. It hangs on the wall. A freaking water tank is like 400 pounds or something. Well, I'm sure it's lighter when it's empty, but still. That's dumb.
Yeah, and I'm looking, it's like they even have an installation series that you can watch on here that shows you how to do it. The only thing that's a little bit difficult is I think my water heater has hard lines coming into it. So I'll probably have to cut and put get
the bendy stuff.
Get the bendy ones, and cut them down and stuff. But again, copper, it's like all you do is solder that shit, right? You just run solder and you don't have to do
copper. Don't do copper. It's PET nowadays. Easy peasy.
True. I don't have copper in my house.
Don't do copper.
Right. Yeah, it's all plastic. So it's all
just
putting that purple gunk on it or whatever. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
copper.
Yeah, that's just gonna be the fucking purple gunk and 45-degree fittings. That's nothing.
Easy.
That should be easy to do.
Easy. That's what I'm saying. The hardest part's gonna be the gas.
So
and
I
even
just
then,
save myself $1,500
bucks
by just doing this myself.
just if you take your time
and then make a video of me fucking
attention,
the whole thing up and put it on YouTube, and I'll probably triple my money.
That's it.
I'm just gonna do that. Fucking how long does it take to get one of these things if I buy it? Let's see.
YouTube or fucking ChatGPT. How do I swap my water tank for a tankless system?
Okay, so here you go. Got a Ream, $1,159, and this is a super high performance plus Ream gas inline heater with instructions on how. Oh, this one even has like a fucking iPhone app and shit to like tune it and configure it and stuff.
See,
and it would cost half. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do it myself. Fuck it, because I also have it. Since I already have a gas water heater, I already have the chimney too. Yeah. So all I need is just the tubing to reroute the chimney. So I'll need like some, angled pieces and stuff to put in there and Lego together.
Dryer.
And then I just need some to cut off and put on some soft, not soft, but the flexible lines, right?
I say watch a few. I'm guaranteed. Watch a few YouTube videos of people swapping out their tanks for tankless and stuff, and see how well it matches up with your system. I bet you're fine.
I can shut off gas to the house, right? I mean, it's just turning.
It's a big red knob. So there'll be a big red knob right near where your tank's at. There's shut off valves everywhere that the gas comes into the house.
Yeah,
there's a big red knob by the tank. There's a big knob where the meter thing runs into the house. You can turn it off at the meter if you wanted to. It takes a funny like square. It's like a perfectly square rotator thingy, but.
And honestly, I could just go to Home Depot and buy all the parts I think I'll need, and then whatever I don't need, I just take back and get a refund. Yeah. Right. I mean, so just buy extra shit that just in case I need it, for worst case scenario. Because I don't want. That's the one thing is I don't want to get like halfway down with the install, be like at the point of no return, and be like, oh shit, I can't get something now. It's Easter weekend, so you can't find the parts. But then again, it's already what's today, Saturday, so Easter's tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So I'm obviously not doing it today because I'm not going to be able to get a hold of this shit today. I'm not doing it tomorrow because it's Easter, and Monday everything's going to be open. So if I start early, I should be able to just go to the hardware store and get whatever I need. If I feel
the hardest part's going to be moving the tank because it's probably full of water.
No, I drained it.
Oh, okay.
I bet you the fucking thing doesn't weigh 50 pounds empty. Like it's just well, actually, no, it's a pressure vessel, so it's probably pretty thick walled. Yeah, I'll get my neighbor to help me move it. But dude, I'm looking at all this shit. What is a nano descaler? What is this fucking?
I don't know.
They got like
that.
a thing that you wrap
like
wires around your pipe and it stop. Oh, that's for copper pipes. Never mind. Apparently, copper pipes get scale in them, so you wrap this wire around it and it does like a charge or something.
That's an electrolysis thing. Yeah,
but not having
it's like
old
copper stuff will corrode. It gets all green and weird.
So I didn't know this until my shit blew up but I didn't know that like hot water tanks have like a sacrificial anode thing in them that's supposed to attract all like the rust and stuff, like keep the rust from like eating the inside of the tank. Mm-hmm. And apparently they're like replaceable. Like you can take a thing off the tank or whatever. And like I didn't know this.
Yeah, because the anode thingy will corrode as well.
Yeah, and apparently those things are only good for like 10 years, so that thing's been gone. So the whole inside of my tank, I bet you like a half of the thickness is probably just gone.
Probably.
I bet you it broke a weld. I bet you it rusted all the way through and broke a weld. Fuck, dude. Okay, well, I think now after looking at it, I'll go watch a couple of YouTube videos and see like if this is just like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Because if I can save $1,500, I'm gonna save $1,500. Like,
yeah, I mean,
no doubt.
Definitely look at it. Look at how it's done.
Yeah, and the gas is the only thing I'm worried about. So if I can get the gas right, then I'm good. And plus, as long as I can shut it off,
a valve. I guarantee there's a red handle somewhere nearby, and it just goes and it's off for the tank, and that's it. Or you shut it off at the whole house, but then you got other problems because you've got a furnace or something you have to worry about.
Something just came in, dude. Oh, this is gonna be big news. Hold on here. I gotta verify it's correct.
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh shit! No, not a tip.
Breaking news! Breaking news!
Oh, breaking news! Yeah. So Doge. Let me go check the price here. It looks like a whale.
It's $1 now.
No. I think Elon just dumped it and just fucked everybody. It looks like 2.8 billion coin or something just got dumped. Hold on here. Doge price. Let's see what the Doge price is right now because I just dumped mine yesterday. Like I just dumped it, I think at 9.8 cents or something like that. Let's see, where's the price at? Yep, 0.08. It just tanked right down to where it started before. Did he change the graphic on Twitter? Yep, it's back to the bird. I fucking called it. I called it and I was 100% fucking right. Oh my God. If you guys sold your Doge because of my Twitter message, you owe me 3% of your proceeds.
Man,
I saved your balls, man.
I have some sheep.
It's going to tank even harder. Holy shit, dude. I cannot fucking believe this just happened while we were streaming. Did you see my tweet the other day, though?
Yeah, about you selling
I literally tweeted out, I said, as soon as he changed that graphic, it fucking drove the price up by 58%. I said, it's going to tank back to at or below what it used to be the second he changed the graphic back. I said, set up a trade and make it trade the second that fucking graphic changes, or else you're going to lose everything. And sure as fuck, it just happened right while we were streaming, dude. Crypto Potato right now is reporting on it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Oh, shit. He gave me a link, but it's not to the article. Doge, go search for Doge. There it is. 1.4 billion Doge dumped by 2 whales after Elon Musk changed the Twitter logo to a Dogecoin. Oh my God. One of the whales sold $95.2 million of Doge. The next guy was 28.6 million. And you know what? Elon has 10,000 accounts. I guarantee you those are both his. He is both of those whales. They just don't know it yet. So right now it says, according to the data, from Look on the Chain, 2 of the 5 largest Doge whales sold over $120 million worth of meme coin amid its massive price rally this week. And here's the interesting thing. You notice how the graphic was changed back to the Twitter icon right after the sale occurred?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a little sus, guys? Like, wouldn't Elon be the whale? Because why would Elon decide to change the graphic only after it tanks like that? Wouldn't he want to keep the graphic up and keep making more money and trying to boost it up higher and higher and higher? No, he fucking got out. He dumped all of his money on all of you guys, and you all just got fucked because you thought he was going to ride you to the moon like GameStop because he fucking played you. Oh my God, dude. Yep. So yeah, it's a bunch of people are tweeting Elon is pumping his Doge so he can pay off his Twitter debts. Yeah, because he's freaking out, man. He lost half the value. He lost $20 billion in equity in Twitter by buying it.
Right.
And he doesn't have that liquidity. People think, oh, he's worth all this money. No, he on paper, he's worth that money. If he tries to sell that and pull that money out, the rest of it just goes off a cliff. Like, he can't touch it. It's like money. It's like you being the richest person in the world, but you can't fucking touch it, right? All the cake in the world, but you can't eat it.
It's just, it goes back to that talk about leveraging your portfolio. That's why he's the richest person, is because of the value of his portfolio. Not because he's actually liquid. Same for Bezos and stuff too. It's like it's because all of his wealth is tied up in stocks.
Dude, I cannot fucking believe I called that so clear. Here, I'm gonna find the tweet because I gotta read this to people on the stream. This is fucking wild that this happens so flawlessly. Let's see here. Nope. Let's see, only 8 minutes left. No, here, go back. Man, I post a lot of fucking garbage, don't I? Jesus Christ, man. I gotta stop taking my drugs and then fucking getting on the internet. Let's see, 30% APR. No, where is the damn tweet? Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. Right here, April 5th. Okay, so this would have been this is a day or two after he changed the graphic. This is my tweet, and I quote from the Barnacules. Here, I'll even put a link in the chat because I'm very proud of this. I am very proud of this, and I hope that people actually that sold on my advice actually do give me the 3% or whatever, 6% that I told them they had to. So there's the link in chat right there, so you guys can follow along. And I quote, I said, if you have any Doge crypto, you would be wise to put in a sell order that is triggered by the Doge SVG graphic changing back to a Twitter logo by using your exchange's trading API. The second this logo reverts back to the Twitter logo, Doge will, and I put it in capitals and put little asterisks around it, will tank, and you will be left paying Mr. Musk's bills. So you need automation to move fast enough to get ahead of it before everybody else does the same thing. I said, notice this is not financial advice. This is a joke meant for entertainment purposes only. Unless you make a profit, then you owe me 6.9% of your gains. For giving you this not advice that you shouldn't have taken, but did anyways. Make it payable to paypal.me/Barnacules, whatever. I said, warning, I am not responsible for losses, only your gains because reasons. This is a joke, entertainment purposes only. This does not constitute a financial agreement. This is not insider trading since it's based on public information that everybody has access to, clearly showing that Elon Musk has used the same method about a dozen or so times now, insider trading on Tesla, Doge, BTC, and ETH by controlling the market himself through directing hundreds of millions of people to do things through nods, just like this one, for his own benefit at their expense, but they keep doing it for some reason. Happy trading unless you lose your ass, in which case you should complain to Elon Musk for constantly breaking the law and SEC.gov for letting him get away with it over and over again, making him the richest man in the world on paper when he shouldn't be allowing him to screw up our social media experience. But his rockets are pretty dope, though, mainly because he didn't design them, thank goodness. And then I put a picture of the Doge graphic, like a link to the Doge graphic and what they could trigger their automation off of. And not only that, but I also posted below it the code for Bittrex Exchange and Python, Lua, PowerShell, and C# to actually execute a trade so that you could trigger it off of that SVG graphic. So following up on this, on April 6th, see the logo changes back, classic pump and dump. Yep. So there are, what is today? Today is the 8th, right? Mm-hmm. So my Twitter logo has never changed. Oh, that's because he's using the app. It's only on the webpage. It's a shame. I had my $10 worth on FTX. Too lazy to move off these exchanges. Should probably move to actual cryptos off Coinbase. App on iOS. Let's see, scrolling through here. Obviously, we're all stuck on Twitter because it's where the majority is. But I found another alternative recently called Spoutable. I haven't heard of that one. Dude, that is so fucking crazy. So I'm gonna retweet this right now. Proudly, I'm gonna retweet and be like, all caps. Don't say I didn't warn you. Again, I'm 100% right about Elon Musk. And it's not really hard to figure the guy out when he keeps doing the same thing over and over and screwing over his base. You guys keep falling for it, and he keeps making money off you. I hope many of you sold everything like I did before this happened. And then I'll do like, I'll do little glasses, little smirk. All right, there you go. Boom, all caps. Boom, done. Everybody go retweet and vote that through the roof. Holy shit, though, man. Like, could that have happened at a better time? Like, yeah, right? Oh, dude, like, seriously, right after I tweet that. Because, by the way, the tip came in from Wolves with Ears. Yeah. So he sent me the thing, and he's like, dude, have you seen this? Like, at 2:08. This is, like, brand new as of, like, not even 20 minutes ago. And he's like, dude, you got to see this. And I click on it. It's 1.4 billion Doge dumped by 2 whales. And it just completely fucking tanked it down to its previous value. And it's not done. This is going to trigger a massive sell-off. Keep in mind, this is right now, real time. What you're going to see is it's going to drop down even further. Like, it's not going to stop at 8. It's like, it's kind of in a holding pattern because they're trying to stabilize it, but they're not going to be able to after that big of a dump. Like, that's fucking nuts, man. So over $120 million. And I guarantee you both those accounts are his. It's not 2 separate people because he bought so much Doge when he was like getting into it, when it was under a penny, and he was the one that boosted it up to 8 cents. He bought so much Doge off of so many people and caused so many whales to get out that I guarantee you that was him. I actually know one of the whales. I can't say who it is, and it's not Adam. You probably don't even know this person, but I personally know somebody who's one of the whales that literally holds a fucking insane amount of Dogecoin. And I'm going to ask him, I'm going to message him because I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm going to be like, I hope one of those is you, dude. Like, I really genuinely hope that you managed to get like some money out of that fucking thing because he was one of the original people that mined it when it first started. And he mined like millions of coins. Like actual millions of coins, like 28 million coins or something like that before he stopped. And this is back when it was like, a million coins is worth like $10. So now today that would be worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Actually, I think it's in the billions if he actually could sell it without tanking it. But I can't believe fucking Elon did that, man. Well, I called it. So obviously I believe it, but holy shit balls, dude. Okay, let me see what the hourly report is here really quick. So let me pull this up. See if she's still tanking badly. Okay, so it's trying to hold at about 8.1 cents. And let's see, when did the whales sell? Let me see if I can get the peak. So right when the whale sold was at, let's see here, 18, what was the peak? So 10 cents. So that would have been 10 cents, then down to 9.8 cents. And then the second big sale was at 9 cents. Now we're down to 8. They're not done. This is not the end. There's going to be another whale sell, guaranteed, because I'm looking at the trend right now. There was a sell on April 4th. Shortly after I made my announcement, there was a sell. Then the next day, there was another sell on April 5th. On April 6th, there was another dump. And then April 7th, there was a small dump, and then it stabilized. But no, it's not done. I guarantee you there's going to be one more giant fucking dump that puts this down. Because do you really think Elon's going to leave it where it was? Do you really think he's going to go through all that trouble and just leave hundreds of millions of dollars laying around? No, I think he's going to fucking dump it. I think people know it's him. They're going to pin it on him. And he's going to try to dump as much of it as humanly possible since he already knows people are going to figure it out. Fuck, dude, that is so wild. All right, well, I know we're way over time, but I had to touch on that because that was just fucking wild, man. That I've called a lot of his bullshit, but that's the first time it's happened like in real time that perfectly. Like it was just absolutely flawless. So hopefully you guys listen to me and hopefully you guys sold because I'm going to be sad if you guys didn't and you're just stuck holding the bag again for this douche nozzle. Thank you. I love Scotch. I appreciate it. Oh, he had one more $5 tip. I saw it said my personal member berries. We put battery and Tesla motor and battery on a trailer hidden to the public until now. Oh, wait, what is this? Like a YouTube video or let me get a link to this and see if it is. I'll share it with everybody else.
Rick roll.
It probably is, but you know, I got to click on it anyways. Oh no, it's a real video. Okay. So, wait, you guys made a battery-powered trailer for a semi?
Cool.
Oh, that's a trip. Holy shit. Here, let me put that in the chat for you guys. Go look at this video. This is a video from I Love Scotch, I'm assuming, unless he's linking somebody else. But yeah, they took a Tesla battery and a Tesla motor and drivetrain and literally put it on the rear axle of a semi-trailer. So I'm guessing this is so you can load up the semi-trailer and have it power itself to take load off of the semi so you could haul a bigger load with a smaller semi, I'm guessing. I don't know. It's pretty fucking cool though. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for hanging out today. I still can't believe that happened, but I am so glad that I sold at 9.8 cents before it completely tanked.
Nice.
And if you do have your coin, this is not financial advice, but you'd probably be wise to offload it because I'm pretty sure Elon is going to just he's going to hit that point. One of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to resist the urge and go 100 million's enough for now, and he'll let Doge try to recover, or he's just going to say fuck it all and he's going to he's going to flood the market with sell orders, sell off as much as he can, drop it back down to under a cent, and walk away with whatever he can get his dirty little grubby hands on and never touch it or talk about it again. But dude, I hope the SEC just fucking rakes him for this. I really do. I don't think they will, but I hope they do. All right, guys. Love your faces. We will see you again. Are you going to be streaming at all next week?
I don't know. We'll see.
You don't know? Just it'll happen to happen. All right. Well, keep an eye out for an update from me on the water heater because now you got me kind of thinking I can do this, and that's a scary thing. But but if I can get a tankless water heater installed, my neighbor said he'd help. He said he's installed them before too, so he could help spot me on it. But if I can get that all installed, I can also have a plumber just come sign off on it, like pay him $120 or whatever, so that he'll sign the permit or whatever, and then I don't have to worry about if the house burns down. I did that with electrical before and it works. Yeah, I think that's it, man. You guys fucking that's awesome. So yeah, go forth and make sure any of your friends that own Dogecoin that thought that Elon was going to take them to the moon and they were going to become super millionaires because he was looking out for the little guy, go tell them how wrong they were and maybe they'll fucking hold him accountable for a change.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a happy Easter and we'll catch you on the other side. Peace out.